I'd like to call this meeting to an order, please. Have a seat. This meeting is called to order. The time is, what is the time, staff? Let's see.
6:06.
Yeah. Thank you. Would the secretary please take a roll call?
Good evening. Commissioner McCullough,
Present.
Commissioner Wilbur,
Present.
but is it? I know. Is it Vice Chair? Oh, Vice Chair Zuniga? No, sorry. My apologies. Vice Chair Wilbur,
Present.
Commissioner Zuniga,
Present.
Commissioner Moncada, Chair Moncada.
Present.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Excellent. Will everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Zuniga, will you give us the honor, the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. We will start the meeting today with the approval of the agenda. Does the staff have any, wants to make any changes to the agenda? No. Perfect. Do any of the commissioners want to make any changes to the agenda?
No.
No? Okay. Okay, then I will ask for a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Agree.
Excellent. Thank you. I believe we need the secretary to take a vote. Is that correct? Okay.
Sorry. Commissioner McCullough,
Yes. Oh, yes.
Vice Chair Wilbur,
Yes.
Commissioner Zuniga,
Yes.
and Chair Moncada.
Aye.
The
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to move
passed.
with the approval of the meeting, the minutes from October 24. Do any of the commission have any changes to the minutes from October 24th, 2023?
No.
No? Okay, so we move on to, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Aye.
Perfect. Second by Mr. Zuniga.
What?
Yes.
Commissioner Zuniga,
Yes.
Vice Chair Wilbur,
Yes.
and Chair Moncada.
Yes,
The motion passes 4.
thank you. Okay, the next matter will be the information reports. I believe no commissioner has any report at this time, including myself. Perfect. We move on. I believe it's continue matters that we continue with. Look, I don't have, do we have any continue matters? No, I don't think so. Any commission? No, we do not. So we do not have that. I get the hang of it pretty soon, you watch. New matters. This is the reason why we're all here today, mostly. We're going to look at the action pertaining, thank you, actions pertaining Harmony Communities, hereby Harmony or Honor, rent increase application for the Hacienda Mobile Estates. To remind everyone of the order of the event, first, city staff will present the report and analysis of the application. The park owner or representative will then have the opportunity to give the presentation regarding their application. Then the residents committee or representative will have the opportunity to give a presentation regarding opposition to the application. The time limit for each presentation is 10 minutes. After the presentation, the commission will open to the floor for comments to the public after the presentations. Each person will have, anyone that wants to make a comment will have 3 minutes to speak. Then the commission will review and make a decision on the application on fair rent increase. City staff, let's proceed with your report, please.
Would you be able to bring up the PowerPoint now? No, it's not. I'll be going with my PowerPoint. I have a PowerPoint for my report. It should say PowerPoint staff report. Yes.
Hold on, let me figure, excuse me.
It will only be a few more minutes. Thank you for your patience.
Can you go back? Oh, I can. All right. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sarah Papazian. I am your staff liaison, and tonight I'm going to be giving you foundational information about the rent increase application for La Hacienda. Before we go into the particulars of La Hacienda's application, I wanted to give you a little bit of background information about your role in the ordinance for mobile home rent review and stabilization. So there are two main categories of rent increases under the Fresno Municipal Code. One is from Section 14 of the ordinance, which is the automatic CPI increase. The other one is from Section 9 of the ordinance, that is the non-automatic increase. So that automatic increase, what that is it's 75% of the Consumer Price Index, which is published by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is an amount that is not subject to approval by Parks residents or the City Commission, which is why it is deemed an automatic one. As long as they ask for no greater amount than that, it occurs automatically. For 2023, that permitted amount was 6.6% of the average base rent. Now, if an owner seeks an increase that is larger than amount, they may apply for it, but it needs to go through the approval process. So it either needs to be voted on by the park residents. If the park residents do not vote to approve on it, the owner can bring it to the commission so that the commission can determine what the proper amount should be. The commission needs to find the just, fair, and reasonable amount. So looking at Section 12 of the ordinance, there are 11 potentially relevant factors to determine what is that just, fair, and reasonable amount. For any non-automatic rent increases, the owners are asked in their application to identify which of those 11 factors they are seeking an increase under, and they must submit supporting documentation for each of those factors. The commission is charged with reviewing that documentation, holding the hearing, taking public comment, weighing all of the evidence that is presented, and determining something that is just, fair, and reasonable for both the park residents and the park owner. Now, looking at La Hacienda's application in particular, the page you see on the right was part of their application. They assert that the average base rent in the park is $377-ish. They are seeking to increase the rent for a total of $350. Just under 25 of that is based on that automatic CPI increase of 6.6%. The other 325 are based on the non-automatic rent increase factors that I discussed previously. Of note, if they were to be authorized for the full amount that they are seeking, that 350 would be a 93% increase off of the current average rent. In their application, the owner identified 3 relevant factors from that Section 12 of the ordinance. One was rent charged for comparable mobile home spaces in comparable mobile home parks. The second was the completion of any capital improvements or rehabilitation work. And the third was a just and reasonable rate of return on the owner's investment in the mobile home park. Looking at Exhibit A from the application, this is what you would see on page 13. It was a chart of comparable rents compiled by the owner. There are 19 parks listed. 17 of them are within the bounds of the city of Fresno. 2 of the parks are outside city bounds. They are in the county of Fresno. Those 2 parks are also owned by Harmony Communities, which owns La Hacienda. You'll see that they have listed the average rent, which they compiled from past years' applications for rent increases, and then they adjusted for inflation. And they added a $63-ish adjustment for trash and water, came up with what those adjusted rents would be, determined the average. So staff reviewed that information, and staff acquired some additional information to determine whether we were comparing apples to apples, essentially. So we found 2 metrics that we thought would give the best layout of what was equivalent. And the first metric that we looked at was the amenities at the parks. So of the 17 parks that are located inside the city of Fresno, there is only 1 other park that has an equivalent level of amenities, which would be Sierra Mobile Home Park. All other parks on this list from the city of Fresno have at a minimum a clubhouse and a swimming pool. You'll see that on a majority of the ones that charge over $600 a month, they have additional amenities such as playgrounds, spas, laundry facilities, basketball courts, and billiard rooms, libraries, etc. It is only Sierra Mobile Park and La Hacienda off of this list that essentially have only some off-street parking as their amenities. As far as what would be most comparable in terms of location, we identified that Villa Capri would be the most equivalent. It is located, you can see, about one major intersection away from La Hacienda. Villa Capri charges, based on that adjusted rent number supplied by the owner, that number would be around $494, but they also do have a swimming pool and a clubhouse. Of note, speaking to the utilities issue, whether they're included in the rent or separate, we were able to get in contact with 15 of those 19 parks. Of those 15 parks, at least half of them had at least one of the two utilities already factored into the rent. 5 of them had both. Both of the two that we had identified as most equivalent are among those 5 that have both factored into the rent. Moving on to Exhibit B, that second factor, a completion of any capital improvements or rehabilitation work. What you see is the chart provided by the owner on page 312 of the application. And owner asserts that just over $400,000 of rehabilitation costs were accrued in the course of fixing the substandard issues at the park. Looking at the documents that were submitted for that factor, page 606 and page 630 of the application are both in reference to the receivership under which the owner took title to the property. And during the course of the receivership, it was negotiated that the owner would rehabilitate the property at their own expense, and upon the close of escrow would be credited up to $300,000 at that time. The unsigned copy of the agreement was submitted on page 630 of the application. Staff was able to get a fully executed copy of that agreement, and it was submitted for your consideration as well. Another issue that staff noticed throughout the invoices that were presented was there seemed to be an issue with preliminary invoices submitted along with a final. For instance, on the screen is 2 of 4 virtually identical invoices. They all have the same date, same invoice number, same description, same PO number. The only thing that changes is a gradually increasing total. So it looks like it may have been an issue where preliminary invoices found their way in along with the final one. The last thing that staff noticed was there was a invoice for $35,000 for the repaving of the park. That occurred, it was signed on October 5th of 2021 by John Frost. Based on the context clues of the invoice, this was several months before Harmony was associated with the property. The top of the invoice references that this would be sent to George and Emery, who would be George Santikian, the trustee for the previous owner, and Emery Wishon, the attorney for the previous owners, in conjunction with a declaration that Mr. Frost filed with the Superior Court, wherein he said that he oversaw the repaving process at the behest of the previous owners, leads staff to the determination that this was paid for by the previous owners, not the owner currently of the property. So if you look at that $402,000 total, if you remove out the credit that they received through the close of escrow for the rehabilitation work, you remove the duplicate charges, and you remove that repaving that was paid for by the previous owner, the new amount of improvements and rehabilitation total would be just under $53,000. Lastly, we analyzed, you can see this is chart from page 985 of the application, is discussing the just and reasonable rate of return, which was the third factor. You'll see that there's a variety of rate of return calculations on here, but each one factors in various expenses such as taxes, maintenance, permits, management, legal fees, and they all have totals in them. And it says that attachment 1 for that would be the supporting documents. However, the only documents that were attached were 4 documents that were associated with the close of the real estate transaction. So staff was not able to analyze any of the supporting document because essentially there were none for this factor. So in addition to things that staff noticed, an opposition was received by the Residents Committee. And in that opposition, they alleged some inaccuracies on the application in 2 different forms. One would be inaccurate occupation information, and 2 would be inaccurate space rent information. For occupancy, they asserted that 8 units listed as vacant on that form were occupied in May at the time that this application was filled out. They have supporting documents for 4 of them. They do not have supporting documents for the other 4. The other inaccuracy that they assert is that 25 of the units listed in the application show on the application a rent space of 495. They are asserting that they actually have a space rent of 300. I'm sure they'll go into it in further detail in their presentation. But in essence, why this would make an impact is, again, that 6.6 automatic CPI number is tied into what the average base rent is. So if the base rent average is 300, then that automatic CPI is under 20. If it's 377, that automatic amount is almost 25. So that is the impact that it has. You'll see this is a quantitative summary of the previous information, just so you can see the numbers all down at once. This was provided in the staff report as well. That is the end of my presentation. I know that after hours yesterday, supplemental information was received by the applicant, the owner. I'm not sure how the chair would like me to handle that. If that was something that the commission was going to take into consideration, despite the time that it came in, I have a short kind of summary that I could hand off to you, or I could present it here at the dais. It's at your discretion.
This night, additional set of documents are what today documents. Will they have any effect on the presentation you just had, or is it just an additional documentation to back up some of the stuff?
It would be information just on that supplemental amount, so it would be in addition. It wouldn't change anything that I had discussed in my presentation.
How long would it take you to present that? I have to be cautious about folks here that, it's going to be late in the
Absolutely.
evening, so.
I mean, I would imagine a couple minutes. I'm not quite sure.
Let's hear it then.
Okay.
If you don't mind. Thank you.
So in essence, what was sent supplementally last night, there were 12 different exhibits over about 700 pages. The first essentially 600 pages were more invoices. Staff was able to do kind of an in-depth analysis of the first 150 pages and then a more glancing analysis at the remainder. Based on those first 150 pages, it looked like a vast majority were duplicates of charges that were already submitted as part of Exhibit B of the application. The other ones that were new, there really was no reference to what they were submitted for. There were no spreadsheets or explanations, cross-references, so there was nothing but just the loose invoices and receipts themselves. There was an additional rate of return page similar to what they had submitted as part of Exhibit C, with an additional column added. It did not include cross-references to any of the new invoices, so there's still no supporting documents for Exhibit C. There was some additional photos. There was another report from the receivership that was similar to one that was submitted in the application, though not identical. It was from a different inspection. They had some additional references, and they had, among them, they submitted a couple of documents from various court cases. There was one where the resident of Space 15B stated that they paid $700 a month to Rafael Herrera. However, it is important to note that amount was for both the space rent and the rental of the mobile home unit itself, as he sublet from Mr. Herrera. And same with Exhibit 10, which was a 2004 residential lease regarding Space 41. In that, it shows that the resident was going to be paying $520 a month to Victor and Maria Rivera. However, once again, that was for both space and the unit itself. And that was the glancing assessment we were able to do since it was sent in yesterday after hours. Are there any questions?
Yes, any questions from the commissioners?
Sorry, you might know this off the top of your head. Is Hacienda covering the cost of utilities?
It sounds like, based on their Exhibit A, that they intend to have both trash and water covered in their utility payment, though I believe the owner will be presenting next. So if that is counter to their plans, then I'm sure he will let you know at that time.
So as of today, not covering the utilities and their rent?
To the best of my knowledge, that final number will include trash and water.
Okay, okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
You've been through, how many of these have you been through? The city, how many have we reviewed in the past years?
As far as applications, or as far
Yeah.
as through the hearing process?
What I'm trying to get at is, I hate to acknowledge that this is the norm. The documents are sent to this commission for both parties that they're not as accurate as they need to be for us to make a reasonable decision, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want me to ride the horse if I don't know how to back ride, you know what I mean? So it's something like we need to make sure that, I just want to make sure that in the future this doesn't become the norm, and we learn that we don't get duplicate documentation. I don't know if it's human error, I don't know if it's a computer error, I don't know. The folks at Harmony, were they given some sort of the conclusion you report after you analyze it? Do they know? Did they knew ahead of this commission?
So after my staff report was
Yes.
drafted, it was uploaded and it was released as part of all of the documents associated with this meeting. So they would have had the opportunity to see it there.
And the same apply for the Hacienda Residents Committee. Did any of them approach the staff and ask them, hey, listen, maybe we made an error, maybe it's a duplicate shouldn't be there, let's just amend what we submitted to you? Any of both parties did anything like that?
Not in that context. I mean, I know both of them submitted supplemental information, so that may have been the intent behind that, but I wouldn't be able to speak to their intent. There was nothing that matched up with the style of what you're describing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Mr. Davis, or the representative for Matt Davis, has an opportunity now to present their report.
Okay, going back real fast. What did you say about 10 minutes earlier? Clarify that. 10 minutes. Is there some kind of limit on our time?
Is it, I'm sorry, who am I hearing here?
Hold on. My name is Jason Dilday, representing Harmony.
Please speak up,
owner
Mr.
of the
We
mobile
can't
park.
hear you that
Can't hear
good.
me? Hold on.
He'll be able to share his screen.
Let me switch my microphone.
Go ahead, Jason. You can share your
Yeah,
screen.
let me switch my microphone real fast, if that helps.
We can barely hear you.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch my microphone. Hold on. Can you hear me better now? Can you hear me?
You're still low.
How about now?
Same.
Is there a call? Let me call in. Is there a call-in number? I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on.
No, we don't have a call-in number. You want to disconnect and try to log back on, maybe?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, give me a sec. I'll do it.
Okay.
Sorry, folks, we're going to give Mr. Davis a few minutes to reconnect with us. I stand corrected. His attorney, Jason D. Dilday. Dilday, is that how we pronounce it? Dilday?
I think so.
Can you hear me now?
You're a little better.
Other people that are on are saying they can hear me perfectly. I don't know if it's the speakers in the
Maybe get
room,
closer
maybe.
to the computer.
Yeah, the people that are logged in virtually are saying they can hear fine. So I don't know, maybe it's the speakers.
Yeah,
or
we
something?
still can't hear you, sir.
I know, but I'm saying maybe it's something on your end is what I'm getting at. Is that possible, or I don't know what to.
Can you folks hear Mrs. Delay? No? Okay, thank you.
I don't know what.
Let me see. No, it's him.
What do we?
Let me try this.
I mean, if I yell, is that better? Huh? Is that a yes? Is there a number I could call there that I can?
We can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me now? Okay. All right. Okay. We ready? Yeah. All right. The first thing I want to ask, you mentioned 10 minutes at the beginning. Is that some kind of time? Is there a time limit that for our whole presentation?
No.
Oh, okay. What was it? What was the 10-minute thing?
Well, it is 10 minutes. So if you want me to, I could put my watch to 10 minutes. Is that what you would like me to do? Because usually we don't have the timer here.
No, I'm wondering where the 10 minutes is coming from. I don't see it. I don't know what that's.
Well, the 10 minutes is what's set by the agenda. And if I give you more than 10 minutes, then everybody else, the staff has a right to come back and say, I need another 10 minutes. Because you gotta be equal time for everyone when it comes to presentations. Can you time yourself for 10 minutes, or you want me to do it for you?
I don't know. I don't see where that's in the agenda, and we have several witnesses. There's no way we can do it. Where, can you point me to the place in the, where it says that? Are you talking about there's a public debate I saw, but I don't, where.
Jason, you're going to have to really, really talk loud. We can barely hear you.
Okay, all right, sorry. Yeah, I just wondered where the 10 minutes is, because I didn't see that, and.
This is the chair. Question. You say you have witnesses included in your presentation?
Yes.
Well, they're allowed to be part of the presentation, but they have to do it individually, and they have to take an oath to do that.
Okay.
The presentation is designed just for you as the
Okay.
legal
All right.
representative of the owner to make your presentation. If you have witnesses, they're more than welcome to Zoom in and provide the testimony, but they will have to be sworn in.
Understood. And they are, I mean, they're on, they're just, I guess they're not, I don't know, they don't.
But they have to call in individually. They cannot be part of your presentation. They're more than welcome to each of them Zoom individually.
I'm sorry. I'm not exactly understand what you're saying. They can't be part of my.
What I'm saying is this, the witnesses cannot be part of your Zoom. The Zoom is only for you as a representative of the owner or the owner himself. How the witnesses can do the can give the testimony individually by individual Zooms, and they have to be sworn in.
Okay. And how does that, so how does, I mean, what, I don't understand the.
Well, sir, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you are the attorney. I'm not an attorney. I'm just telling you what the parliamentary requires.
Okay, how do they Zoom in? They're already on the, they're on the Zoom right now.
Give me a moment, please. Give me a moment.
Chair, I would like to clarify. So what we have
Thank
here
you.
would be that the owner can provide their 10-minute presentation, and the owner or the representative can say whatever they want to say for their 10 minutes. And then later on in the hearing, there's an opportunity for anyone in the chambers or for anyone on Zoom to provide comments. If any of those persons are going to provide oral testimony based on anything they have seen and or experienced, they are required by the bylaws to take an oath to affirm that they are telling the truth. So that's all the chair was trying to communicate with that. So if you have witnesses, they will be able to provide testimony. It just won't be during your presentation. It will be done later on in the hearing.
Okay, do they have time limits?
They are limited to 3 minutes.
Okay. So, but I can include, I don't think I can include anybody as a witness in my presentation, or no?
The presentation is limited towards the owner, and it is limited towards his representative and not witnesses. The witnesses must be separate, so they must be taken into account during the time in which persons in the chambers or persons on Zoom can participate.
Okay, all right. All right. So just to clarify something said earlier also before I get to what my prepared stuff is, just to clarify, Harmony is not the owner of this park. They don't own the other parks. They're a management company. The owner of the park is an LLC. Just want to make sure that's
Can you
clear.
say that again,
I said
Jason?
the Harmony does not own this park or any of the other parks referred to by the city attorney. Harmony is a management company. So just wanted to clarify that. Okay.
Jason, we can't hear a word you're saying. You are very, very low.
I don't know.
You need to turn up your microphone on your end.
Excuse me, I'm going to call a 15-minute recess and have you guys check with this gentleman, Jason, and figure out all the technology issues. Okay, so we're taking a 15-minute recess. Thank you.
Jason, it's a setting on your...
is set by.
Calling this meeting back to order. Thank you for your patience. I'm gonna, just a second. I'm gonna have our city attorney go over the 10-minute question that the gentleman from representing the owners has about why the 10 minutes limitation to his presentation. City Attorney?
Yes, so rule number 16 of the council rules for procedure, 16C states that in public hearings that the general time limit shall be set at 10 minutes. So that is where the 10 minutes come from. It comes from the council rules of procedure, rule 16.
Excellent, thank you. So are you ready for your presentation, sir? Was that answer sufficient for you? Did that clarify your answer, your question?
I'm ready.
Okay,
But I'm still a little concerned about if you can hear me, because everybody that's on Zoom can hear me fine. It's something to do with the chamber.
Yeah, we're ready for you, sir. Proceed.
Okay. First off, I just want to put on the record some objections. The owner objects to any opposition by the residents because they failed to comply with the requirements of the ordinance by rejecting the application before meeting with the owner to negotiate a mutually acceptable rent increase pursuant to section 12-2010A of the ordinance. Put differently, the ordinance requires the residents committee to raise their objections at the meeting with the owner. By failing to do this, they've waived their right to oppose the application. Attorneys for the residents acknowledge this conclusion in their letter that's attached as Exhibit 16 to the opposition, arguing that failure to comply with the ordinance's requirements waives the party's right under the ordinance. A little more detail is that the residents rejected this application 3 days after it was delivered to the chair. The ordinance provides 5 days for the chair to determine whether the application is complete. By rejecting it within the 5-day period, the owner had no opportunity to request the meeting with the residents to negotiate the mutually acceptable increase. And in staff analysis on page 3 acknowledges the requirement to meet and negotiate. However, it also suggests that the owner's response during a deposition taken 2 weeks after the residents denied their application somehow supports the residents' argument. It's not clear what this means. The owner never said or did anything prior to the denial suggesting that they were represented by counsel. And regardless, residents' attorney contacted Mr. Davies directly. The owner reiterates his objection that it made to the city attorney via email, that the documents submitted for this hearing by the residents committee were untimely. The ordinance specifically requires that documentary evidence must be submitted 10 working days prior to the hearing. The late submittal is extremely prejudicial to the owner. As noted on page 1 of the staff analysis, owner's request for commission proceedings was served on 7/10/2023. So they had plenty of time and they waited and they turned it in too late. The owner objects to any argument or determination by the residents, the city, or the commission based on missing or incomplete information in the original application. As the ordinance dictates, the chair must request additional information within 5 days of receipt. They did not do that, so the application was deemed complete by the chair based on their failure to request additional information, and the residents of the city and the commission are barred from claiming otherwise here. So in the staff analysis provided to the commission, they basically said that the rate of return analysis was unsubstantiated. The process for providing additional information is delegated to the residents the chair of the residence committee, and them not requesting additional information means it's complete. The part of the exhibits 1 and 2 of the supplemental documents that we submitted are all the backup for everything that's claimed in the rate of return analysis. So all the backup information is there now. Section 12, 2009C of the ordinance states that within 5 days after receipt of a rent increase application, the chair shall determine if the application is complete pursuant to subsection B above and shall notify the owner of any information or documents required to make the application complete. They did not notify the owner, so the application was deemed complete. The foregoing section of the ordinance makes clear that the city and the commission have delegated all authority for determining the completeness of a rent increase application to a resident. Elected chair, for this reason, the conclusion reached in the staff analysis regarding the unsubstantiated evidence, it has no merit at all. Finally, the owner objects to that the commission is not duly constituted and that it only has 4 out of the 12 required members. Even if only considering the regular members, the owner objects to the commission for having a resident member without the counterbalance. The park owner member, this has been hereby so the resident against the owner. At the very least, the resident member of the commission should be excluded from the proceedings. Okay, moving on to the staff analysis. Comparable rent. In the summary of application section, the author of the analysis correctly defines comparable rent as rent lawfully charged or comparable for comparable mobile home spaces and comparable mobile home parks. However, in the analysis section in the analysis section for Exhibit A, the city concludes that comparable rent parks must be located within the city and excludes City Lakes and Westwind while acknowledging that these parks have comparable amenities. There's nothing in the ordinance supporting this conclusion. The drafters of the ordinance intended to limit comparable properties to those located in the city. They could have easily added within the city to the end of that subsection. So we disagree with this interpretation, and so there's no basis to exclude the rent from these two comparable parks. Regarding the selection of the 19 parks included in Exhibit A, they represent the 17 that are in the city are represented by, came from documents produced by the city pursuant to a public records request, and the amenities of these parks was unknown. This is just all the records that the owner had, but the rationale was that taking the average of all available rents to produce a reasonable approximation of comparable. The capital improvements, rehabilitation, there's a witness who will talk about this, who's an accounting person at Harmony, says that there are duplicates in there. There were duplicate invoices, or not duplicates. They were like they were different. Well, they're duplicate charges, but they weren't duplicate payments, and they're not reflected in the actual amount claimed for the rehabilitation. So they are there, but they weren't counted in the book. They're not on the books. So you can talk about that a little bit in a minute. And the rate of return analysis. Back to the capital improvements. There's a reference to the cost not mandated by the city, and there's a breakout for those that are not mandated by the city. There's nothing in the ordinance that says that any of the capital improvements or real estate have to be mandated by the city or anybody else. So that last breakout is not even be considered. Okay. According to the court in Keno versus Keno MXC versus City of Keno, a failure of an applicant to submit complete or adequate information may constitute grounds for disapproval of an application, and it necessarily follows that once a public agency has accepted an application is complete, it cannot deny the application on the ground that it is incomplete, which is what, at least in the analysis provided by the city prior to this, that they were doing, and this stuff is unsubstantiated. And that's not true because the city, having delegated its authority to deem an application complete to the chair, and the chair did not request additional information. So from the standpoint of the commission, they have to treat it as complete. So it's improper for the city to claim that the application is not complete now. Anyway, this additional information has been submitted, all the backup information, so the commission can consider it now. There's a reference in the analysis to the lack of a meet and confer. In discussing that, the city mentioned the absurd argument raised in the opposition that the committee's attempt to meet and confer was obstructed by the applicant. As the committee and the applicant are both represented by legal counsel, and the committee's attorney was and is prohibited by the California Rules of Professional Conduct for attorneys from communicating directly with applicant's representative, Matthew Davies. So this is basically the attorney for the residents saying that the reason they didn't meet and confer is because the attorney assumed that the owner was represented by counsel, even though there was nothing to suggest that. Further, the claim that they do not communicate with him directly is completely contradicted by Exhibit 13 to the opposition, where which includes an email directly to Mr. Davies following the receipt of the application. So she obviously could and did communicate with him. So any assertion that the owner somehow prevented the meet and confer process is absurd. And again, as mentioned before, the owner to initiate the process would be at least 5 working days until the application would be deemed complete. So not until after the 5th working day would the owner even think of reaching out to meet and confer on the application, because before that time they're waiting to see if the committee or the chair is going to request additional information. Regarding the alleged inaccuracies on the form, it was unintentional. Basically all the data was correct. It's just some of the spaces got switched around. Attached as exhibit A, exhibit 6 on the supplemental documents, which is on page 679, has what the rent what the application should have reflected when it was taken from this rent roll and put on the form of the city's form. Some of the spaces, the information got switched, but all the number of vacant spaces and the different rents were the same. They just were associated with unintentionally associated with different spaces on the application. So that was unintentional, and we apologize. But it doesn't change anything on the application. How much time do I have left? Sorry. Anybody hear me?
Yes, you had 5 seconds left, so we're good.
Oh, 5 seconds. Okay, thank you.
And then the ding just went off. Time's up.
Do any of the commission have any questions?
I have a question to begin with regarding the just and reasonable rate of return that was submitted. In that document, you utilized a 50% vacancy rate. All of the other submitted rent rolls, industry norms would be 5 to 10% maximum. For what justification are you utilizing 50%, and why would you expect the park to remain at 50%?
We don't expect the park to remain at 50%. That's what it is right now. It's pretty difficult to fill. That was those comparisons were basically to get at a target rate rent that the park needs to continue to operate the park in a manner that makes sense for them. So obviously the rate of no park would only need what is it? I think it's the rate of return is 2.55% at 725. That's obviously not a sustainable rate of return either. That's just basically to get clarity of what that the rent should be in the $600 range based on different factors. Does that make sense or answer your question?
I'm still not sure why you would submit it at 50% if you anticipate filling
That's
it.
what it is right now, because that's what it is. That's what they're making right now, and they're not. Somebody will be talking about it in a little bit more detail, but basically, that is what it's at right now. That's the rate of return. So even if, for example, I mean, that the rate of return for that, obviously, the rate of return stated in there is not sustainable either. So I guess what I'm getting at is that those are ranges showing that right now, the way the product is operating at a 50% rate, these are the rents at this point that they will need. The rent that they will need going forward with greater, with less vacancy and at an actual rate of return that's sustainable are discussed in Exhibit 3, which I don't know if your copy has, which I can share, but starts on page 600 of the supplemental. Unfortunately, I think the document that was uploaded to the on the website is the one that was sent via email, which is broken into 4 pieces and then put back together, so all the bookmarks were gone. The version that was sent via link had all the bookmarks in it, but that's not the version that got uploaded. So it's hard, a little harder to navigate this thing than it would be if the full document had been uploaded. So basically, page 600 is where they have the adjustment, and in that we have where it's a tier where it takes it up from where it is now at 50% to 95% to 5% vacancy. So he can go over that briefly more if that's, or if you don't mind, because he's the one that did it.
Okay, thank you. City Attorney, are you able to provide any clarification regarding his objections to the processes and the timelines of the documents submitted?
Normal procedures, the city doesn't respond to the objections. They're allowed to make them. And then at that point, if at some point later they decide to just full-on challenge, then, like I said, their objections had been noted on the record.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify, we have a court reporter that's on here too. It's more for her than for anybody else.
I don't have any further questions at this time.
Thank you. Any other commissioner?
Yeah, I just have one question. Can you repeat what you said about the commission and the members here? I kind of didn't quite get that as far as what your objection was as far as that goes.
Well, the commission is supposed to have, 12 members, 5 regular, 7 alternate. But more importantly, I guess, which is mandatory, but more importantly, there's supposed to be a balance. There's a balance with you have 3 at-large members, and you have 1 resident member, you have 1 park member of the regular members. So obviously, if there's a 3 at-large and only 1 resident without the park owner, then there's an imbalance. Obviously, the resident manager is inclined towards the residents, and the park manager member is inclined towards the park.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is the chair speaking. We still have a vacancy for I believe we have a vacancy for mobile home park owner, right? Well, if you know of any mobile park owners that would like to be in our commission, they're more than welcome to apply. That way we'll be in the same page with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We accept referrals. Please do. Any other questions?
I just wanted a clarification on my question from earlier, which was, is the intention of the rent increase to also include utilities?
Oh, I mean, that's not changed. It's not changing the utilities, so. No, yeah, I mean.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I don't know. It doesn't have anything to do, like, I'm not clear on what you're asking me. It's not changing the utilities that are included. Is that what your question is?
So the city did an assessment of the comparable rates based on amenities, based on utilities that were included.
with rents across the 17 mobile home parks. And one of the factors that was reviewed was whether or not utilities was included in the rent. And so I wanted just to seek clarification so I could better understand if that was something that was intended as a part of the rent increase.
I'm sorry, I'm just not understanding. Intended, I mean, the rent, the utilities are included.
Okay.
I mean, the application has what's included. That's why on our application there was an adjustment. Okay, so again, the other comparable properties we didn't have any information on. Again, there were just rent applications that we received in a public records request that we took to do it. So there was no intent to necessarily compare amenities. It was more of just taking all of the ones we had and just keep creating like a global average of what is fair. So, and it was our understanding most parks would not have the utilities included, which this park does, and that's why there was an adjustment on our application for that. In the staff analysis, I guess they contacted and there are some that also have some of the utilities included.
I don't know if he did or not.
I don't know if that's answered. Does that answer your question?
Let me ask it in a different way.
Okay, thanks.
As it stands today, does the rent cover utilities at this park? Is that a yes or a no?
Yes, the water and trash, yeah.
Yes is the answer. I just wanted it just.
Well, I don't know what utility you're talking about. Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying
you're right.
the
Yes.
rent.
I think one of the analysis was water and maybe gas. Is that the two that were included?
No, it's water.
Trash.
No,
I'm sorry.
water.
Trash, and water. If you can clarify, are those included as it stands today with rents?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
This is a chair again. Question: If you had an opportunity to amend your application so we could all be on the same page more or less, not so much 93% difference, if I may use that term, because your rents, you want to increase these rents 93% of it. I mean, pretty much quite unseen, in the process of this type of applications. So my question is, if you already reviewed the staff analysis of your application, what the concerns that the staff had, why didn't you make an attempt to amend your application or to find some sort of reconciliation?
Okay, so, I mean, the way the procedure is supposed to work is that you submit the application, and the way it's supposed to work, and the reason they have not had any of these submission hearings in a long time is because it's designed that the owner and the residents will try to work out a mutually agreeable increase. That didn't happen this time because the residents rejected this without going through the procedures required under the ordinance. Okay. Now, if you're talking about when did we hear anything from the city? We didn't hear anything from the city until. I mean, are you talking about the analysis that they submitted?
That is correct. Yes.
I mean, that was just posted like on last Friday. I mean, like, what would we do?
Well,
I mean,
sorry, what did you say?
I said that wasn't posted until, I mean, it wasn't sent to us, but I mean, I thought, I mean, on Friday when I saw it on the website, I don't know exactly when it was. I mean, the file dated the 9th, so I don't know if it's maybe posted on the 9th, but the 10th, it was just on Friday that it was posted. How would we, like, what would we do in the meantime between then and now in the last 3 days? I'm just not clear on what you're asking.
I think I would add this question answered by the city attorney, but common sense would tell me that if I receive a document, just send us 900 pages today, okay? Was loaded up to be seen 900 pages. So that's my understanding, correct? 700, thank you. 700 pages. So if we're able to do 700 pages today, why couldn't you do the amendments or look, guys, you know, yeah, we're a little bit off. Yeah, let's see it before we go before the commission to make this process a little more compatible. However, I didn't see any intent from the owner to do so. But then again, we did get 700 pages from you today, you know, so that's my concern as a chair, you know, go ahead.
I mean, I think that the way that the process is supposed to work is that you have, that this is supposed to happen with the committee, the residence committee, right? The ordinance is written in such a way that you present it, you submit it to the city as well, but everything's delegated to, at least until they reject it, to the residence committee. So they have 5 working days, to basically review it and then let the owner know whether it's complete or whether they require additional information or documents. Okay, then we would have that package that I think what you're talking about. There's something that has everything that we need, or that the city needs, because unfortunately the city is delegating, under the ordinance, delegates this authority to the chair. So they're the ones that have to deem it complete. They deemed it complete by default because they did not request additional information. Okay, and then they rejected it. Okay, so if you're asking, okay, so that's I think how the process probably is supposed to work, and I think that's maybe hopefully addressing some of your concerns. But the other part is, okay, so it may seem like a lot of pages, but basically what was attached is to address most of the stuff that was in the analysis. I mean, again, the version you guys have, and maybe it's the version that the city attorney has too, and it's definitely hard to work with because it had to be sent in pieces. But the file that was sent via link is bookmarked. It tells you exactly where everything is. So basically, in their analysis, they basically say that there's not enough to substantiate the fair return stuff. So what we did is we put the profit and loss for 12 months to substantiate the expenses that we've had that were on the sheet, and then we have the backup for all those expenses from Harmony. So basically, all those general ledger items that are reflected in the profit and loss statement are attached below that. Yes, that's probably that's like 500 and some pages. But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff, but it's all there. So that's what they were asking for. So if the residents would have asked for it, or the chair would have asked for it originally, then we would have submitted it before. But that didn't happen, just because the residents committee did not follow the ordinance. So I think part of it is because they refused to, or they did not. They basically rejected this application. By rejecting it, they deemed it complete. So they didn't ask for additional information, and then the only next step, once it's rejected, is to request these proceedings. Okay, and when you submit something like this, and this is true in anything with the city or any kind of municipality or something, there has to be a time when it's complete, because obviously they can always say, "Oh, we're missing this, we're missing this." There have to be certain guidelines. So somebody needs to deem it complete, because they can always come back and say, "Oh, we didn't have this, so we're not going to do it." So we would have been more than willing to produce all this stuff if the chair had requested it, but we did not request it from the owner. So that's why maybe we didn't have what you're considering an incomplete application, or maybe even some duplicates. But that's stuff that was submitted on yesterday.
Okay. So what you're saying is you stand by your report 100%, correct? Your application? The way you submitted it.
I'm saying the city has to stand by because it was deemed complete. I mean, if we would have known that they required other things, we would have provided it, but we don't have to because it was deemed complete by the residents.
Okay, all right. You see, sir, in my line of business for 30 years, I work in mortgage banking. I saw thousands of appraisals, hundreds of appraisals. And residential, yes, commercial, yes. However, when an appraisal was inconsistent with the market conditions or inconsistent with the comparables that were provided, we would turn to another appraisal and say, "Hey, listen, guys, this you gotta do something here because you got too many inconsistencies once it's being analyzed. So I'm assuming that I don't know much about mobile home appreciation, mobile home park appreciation or value or what have you, but what I do know is common sense tells me that if you're gonna submit double duplicates on an application and trying to show numbers that actually are not actually there because the city has said so, then I have a concern. And then you had an opportunity to address this commission through the city and say, hey, listen, guys, I saw your report, I see your concerns, what can we do? Because you, after all, sir, you're the one that requested this meeting, not the city. So you could always come back and say, you know what, I want to postpone my meeting before the commission, and let's do it another time, or to give me some time to review everything that you're providing to us after you analyze our report. But that's my say, and I will continue with the agenda now. Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Now we're going to Ms. Shawn, presentation.
No, remove him as a panelist.
Good evening, members of the commission. I have a PowerPoint, so I'm gonna, hopefully they can bring it up.
Jason PowerPoint?
It probably is titled something opposition.
Opposition? It's the other PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's a PowerPoint.
Not that one.
You don't have one. You just have to on the sheet. Try to tell it, like, the sheet.
Yeah. Go to the meeting. Home, move on. It's the opposition over there.
Just a few more minutes, folks.
Where do I point this? Up there? Down here? Okay, cool, great, awesome, okay. Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comment tonight. My name is Mariah Thompson, and I am legal counsel for the Resident Rent Control Committee. I am also in a different capacity, legal representative for, over the last several years, dozens of families in the park on many different issues. So my law firm has been intimately involved in this since sort of the history of when it all began. At the outset, I want to say in regards to these supplemental documents that were sent last night, I have never seen them, received them, heard of them until this moment. They made an argument about the timeliness of us submitting documents 10 days before the hearing, which was what we were told to do by the city, and that was untimely, but they sent 700 pages of stuff last night that they haven't even sent me. So I would just ask that you exclude that from your analysis. If you were to include it, we would request another opportunity to review those and provide supplemental responses, since we would like the opportunity to respond if needed. Based on the requirements of the ordinance, the Commission must deny the proposed rent increase. It has a lot of inadequacies. It fails on every single point on which it seeks to increase the rent, actually more than double the rent, because the space rent in the park on average is $300, not $377. The baseline information is inaccurate. The city already presented that to you all. In their analysis, they summarized our arguments with that. It fails to provide evidentiary support from basically all of its contentions, which is in violation of Ordinance 12-209E, saying they must submit documents supporting the proposed rent increase. They've already been paid for the capital improvements that they claim that they need to more than double rent to be paid for. And the park is not comparable to any other parks in Fresno for reasons we'll go into, but mainly because it's closing. They're shutting it down and they're kicking everybody out, and they've already evicted about half the people, and they're evicting many more, including people in this room tonight. So that's not comparable to anywhere else on their list. And they must not force the few people that they haven't yet kicked out to pay more than double rent so that they can keep earning a profit while they're shutting down the park and displacing families. So we already have talked a little bit about Hacienda, but for those who aren't familiar with it, it has 60 spaces, about half vacant right now. Most people are either elderly, disabled, or on a fixed income of $1,200 or less per month, or are working families.
Is there somebody in the audience translating, or?
Yes.
Thank you. I was not aware. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. And the other folks are working families raising often multiple children on a very low income. These are some photographs of the park. I took these personally the month that this was submitted, this application, and this is what I want folks to focus on. They want $650 a month to live here.
What month was this
May,
again?
when this was submitted.
These were just taken in May?
The same month that they submitted the application.
Is this
yes.
the same condition it's in right now?
Yeah, if not worse. There's more vacancies now, yeah. Boarded up family homes, empty spaces from fires. They took possession of the homes of people that they kicked out or that were otherwise involuntarily displaced. They board them up, they rip them out. Some of them, it appears they've been trying to sell since they included in their invoices the cost of putting an ad for selling one of them. So this isn't comparable to $650 a month parks, other places in Fresno. So that's what we're talking about. Many of the units they say are vacant are actually occupied, including by multiple people that are here tonight, including the rent-controlled chair. So that data was inaccurate. And all space rent in the park is $300 or less a month. The documents that they cited from court saying that people were paying more, those are my clients. I actually prepared those documents for my clients. Those clients were they had slumlords that were forcing them to pay up to $700 a month which includes the space rent plus the profit. That's not the space rent. They have no evidence they've submitted saying that people are paying $4.95, such as lease agreements or invoices or anything. Also, people are being charged separately for utilities. There are multiple people in this room that have been recently forced to sign contracts where they're being charged separately for utilities on top of rent. So we do have additional evidence on that if you need to see it at a later date. So some people it's included, some people it's not. That was a recent change only since they came on. So this park is not comparable to any other parks. It is closing. People are being evicted. There's a hearing on its closure on Thursday. This is what other parks in Fresno that have $650 rent look like compared to Hacienda. They have playgrounds, they have beautiful grounds, they have landscaping, they have community centers, they have gyms, they have multiple pools. Some of them even have a spa and a sauna and a hair salon. And this is what they're saying is comparable. So obviously these are not comparable situations. It doesn't fall under that exception. They said that they didn't know anything about the amenities when they listed them. If they didn't know anything about them, they shouldn't be asking to more than double rent based on them. It was easy for us to find that information, and the city could find that information too. They shouldn't be expecting to double rent if they can't even present accurate information. The capital improvements, they've been already paid for. They paid for those already. They were credited $300,000 on the purchase price of the park. The city explained that to you. We included a matrix of all the invoices in our opposition. The city prepared its own matrix. I'd say they're pretty similar. The only things that have been invested in since they took over were them putting in mobile homes for their own on-site property manager, and they also would like my residents to pay for ads for the mobile homes that they're selling now that they took from people. They put that invoice in there as well. The ordinance defines capital improvements and rehabilitations that can be covered by this as ones that benefit the community, not them putting in the rugs for their new management in the new trailer they brought in for them. That's not what that covers. And that's the stuff they're invoicing for after they took over, including day-to-day operations costs like office supplies. They also cannot include that as well. That's not a capital improvement or rehabilitation pursuant to the definitions in the ordinance. The right to return on investment claim. It sounded like they couldn't explain to you exactly why they put 50% of the park is going to be vacant and that they should still be making returns. Sound like they aren't quite sure. They said they don't intend to keep it that way. I would dispute that because they're closing the park. And people in this room will tell you that they're also being evicted right now. Illegal evictions that we're challenging in court, and we will win, but they're evicting more people. So that vacancy rate's actually going to go up, and they still want their neighbors to be subsidizing their evictions by paying more than double in rent. The just and reasonableness of this, you guys have to be looking at what is fair, equitable, and it has to be in line with the point of the ordinance that is in the ordinance. It has to protect what the ordinance is trying to do, allowing them to force the remaining residents to subsidize the rental income that they lost by evicting people and evicting more as we speak, basically. That is not doing what this ordinance is supposed to protect. Furthermore, they're selling this park. They bought it for $1.7 million minus $300,000 because of the repairs. They're seeking to sell it for approximately $4.1 million. They put it on the market 7 months after they bought it. So 7 months after they bought it, they said that they want to get about $2.1 million in profits and kick about 30 to 40 families out of their homes permanently. I think that they will make their return on investment in that. They do not need to be asking these people who they are displacing from their homes to pay them double in the meanwhile, while they're also trying to look for a new place to live. So none of these arguments that they have put forth have any validity. They've failed to substantiate them with documents. They sent something yesterday night. I haven't even seen it. Maybe it substantiates it. I really doubt it. And many of these things, it sounds like they don't even quite know why they're arguing what they're arguing, and they didn't really do their due diligence and research anyway. And the last thing I want to speak to is these claims that my clients thwarted this process and we were supposed to tell them what they needed to do and we refused to do that and we wouldn't meet and confer. I represent the rent chair, Patricia Shawn, who they blamed all of this on. They were evicting Miss Shawn during that time period. I don't know why they expected Miss Shawn to reach out directly to the people that were evicting her. People speak between their lawyers. I reached out to 4 law firms of opposing counsel that I have been litigating against in regards to these same people over the last 4 years and asked every one of them if they represented on this matter or if they knew who represented on this matter. I responded to Mr. Davies and asked him who his legal counsel was on this matter. He has legal counsel. I know this company. They always have legal counsel. He refused to respond. His other attorneys didn't give me an answer. And then in a deposition I took, under oath, he acknowledged that he had legal counsel and told me he wouldn't give me that person's identity because I would spar with him soon enough. And I'm assuming that's Mr. Dilday, who I'm sparring with now. And I have submitted the transcripts from this as part of our evidence. So we did our due diligence, trying to do the meet and confer requirement, and they prevented us from doing so. And it can't work like that. Thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take questions.
Commissioners, questions?
I do have a question, and I was scrolling through the 1,500 pages that we did receive, because I believe it was in your section of that alleges that in the current SAL agreement that the property is to be delivered vacant. Was that in your documentation?
Yes, that's actually in the Marcus and Milchap brochure for sale that the applicant had produced. It's their document that says that they will be delivering it vacant at closing, and that's in relation to a line that says tenants delivered vacant at closing.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? All right, I have a question. You mentioned that Ms. Shawn was being evicted when the owner tried to contact her, right? Send the notices or whatever the document is. They're saying that they sent to you guys, how you guys never responded. Now, when you say you were representing Ms. Shawn, were you representing her in her eviction? Or were you, okay, so were you also representing the mobile home park? Because this is, correct me if I'm wrong, she was sent documents as a representative of the mobile home park, not because she was being evicted, and nothing to do with her eviction. So she was the representative, it was in her due diligence to reply to the owner, hey, listen, I know, not even mentioned as being evicted. At that point, when she's replying to the owner on the matters that had to do with the mobile home park, you would think the eviction has no case in the matter. This is not about her eviction. This is about the mobile home park business. Now, but you say that you called them. Under what authority did you call them to talk business about the mobile home park if you were not representing the mobile home park, but representing her on her eviction?
Yes, I see what your question is. I understand. So I was legal counsel for both the Rent Control Committee as the Rent Control Committee and then Ms. Shawn personally in her eviction. The park owners sent me the application too. They didn't just send it to Ms. It wasn't that they sent it to Ms. Shawn and then Ms. Shawn just did nothing with it and then unilaterally decided that she was rejecting it. What happened was they sent it to me as well because I'm the lawyer. And when later asked why it was sent, to us, the owner responded, or the owner's representative responded, that he was advised by legal counsel to do so. So when he sends it to me, and I know, and I'm the representative, and I know they have a lawyer, that's how the communication's going to happen, because they're both represented parties.
So you were working on dual representation then. You have her and you had them. Thank you.
I honestly, sir, I represent most of the people in this room in their ongoing evictions.
And they are aware that you represent also the mobile home park?
Yes.
Very well then. Thank you very much.
Yes. Any other questions?
I don't.
Okay, thank you.
Does the staff has any questions? No? Okay, thank you. We will now take comments from you folks here present. And I have the cards here. Give me a minute. I want to acknowledge that I did receive, and on receipt of two responses in writing that was sent to us by emails. So I want to acknowledge that. One from Ms. Maria Edelina Martinez de Montellano, and the other one from Virginia Bustos. So I acknowledge that I have those. Okay, here we go. Leslie Wright. Please approach the microphone. You have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. I'd like to let you know how much we appreciate that this commission is in effect. I bought a trailer, my money, and I bought a trailer in 2000. I'm disabled. I have been able to raise my children, and I have had a stable home, and I have been able to live within my means at this place. I understand a need for a rent increase. Our rent is extremely low, but more than doubling it is, I don't know how to explain, it just took the rugs out from under me. It literally, for the first time in 23 years, I'm concerned with where I'm going to be, how I'm going to pay. It's not fair. I also live in one of those trailers that they said was vacant, just for the record, it isn't. But I just want you to understand, I realize they're closing, which is already, first they give us that took our feet out underneath us, and then they turned around with this rent increase. So my rent is currently $285. They want to raise it another $350. That's more than double. That's going to mean I can't afford medicine. I can't afford utilities. It's going to make a big difference in my life. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. If you speak Spanish, please let me know when you come to the microphone so we could get the interpreter to assist. If you want to speak in Spanish, that is, I'm sorry. Name Kim Sons. Three minutes, ma'am.
Following Leslie, wow. I moved here from Rhode Island in 2018, and I was homeless in Rhode Island. My uncle owned a trailer, and nobody was living in it, so I moved in. And it's in my name, and they're trying to evict me as a squatter. My uncle's been there for 25 years, and they're saying he's squatting too. I've had surgery on my foot since I've been there, so complying with them is hard, but I did it because I can. I had a Bell's palsy episode the day after I got the 5-day to quit and the leave, and it would just destroy me from being homeless to them doing this to us. It's crazy. I live without gas I know you guys probably know this, for like 390 days I had no hot water. I had no hot water. I had no water. I had water, but no hot water. I was doing my dishes at my uncle's. When they first came in, they took everything from us. They went in our yards. They were supposed to get flammable stuff. They passed by a wooden structure that I had on the bottom shelf, gasoline cans, paint cans, thinners, everything like that. They didn't take that. They took I don't own a car, never had, don't want one. They took my trailer for my bike that I go grocery shopping with. I had the wheels to it. They just took the body of it. I no longer have it. They took my gardening stuff. They took my dishes that were outside. I was camping for a year, cooking outside on my back porch, because if I can't use my sink with hot water, why you use my kitchen? So I acquired crock pots and flat tops and skillets and all that kind of stuff, and I did my cooking outside for a year. And hot water, I used my uncle's shower. So Yeah, I went without because of those fires. I live in 26, and my neighbor even lives in 25. Us two, we went through the fires together, and we're still there. We're still standing. During that time, they inspected us half a dozen times or more. For what reason? To change their stories all the time? I don't know. But this is what they did. When they inspected us, they walked through, and I said, what about my dilapidated porch? I've been here since, for 5 years almost, and it's sunk about 6 inches. They didn't tear that down, but they were willing to tear off a piece of my place, and they didn't do that because it came with the trailer itself. It would just be devastating. I don't know what I would do. I mean, without my uncle, I would be lost. And it's inhumane. It is very inhumane. Everything we went through, all of us tenants, with the fires and then this and that, and Matt Davies lying to the receivership, lying to the court, the judge saying everything was up to par and at code when I didn't have gas and neither did my neighbor. That's a lie. He's lying to everybody here in this council. He's lying to us tenants. We had a meeting, and their meeting, the letter they sent out to all of us was, they're going to make this place a nice, safe, and happy, healthy place for us to live. And from day one, that was a lie. 7 months later, what? They're selling the park? It makes no sense to me. It's just wrong. Thank you.
Next, I have David Wills.
Harmony Corporation. Harmony causes homelessness. That's what's happening down there. Affordable housing? What, are you kidding me? I moved in 1999. I bought a mobile home at Trails End Mobile Home Park for $6,000. A home for $6,000. Oh yeah. At that point in time, it was $185 a month. In September 2001, Gus Musso, an old musician friend of mine, moved in with me at Space 26. The space rent was then $200 a month. He was making $1,000 a month on Social Security, paid me $300 a month in rent, which included gas, electric, and phone. February, I started renting a place at Space 41, and then later, just before Harmony took over, I purchased that trailer for $10,000. $10,000, 2 bathrooms, 2 bedrooms, $300 a month. I mean, that's a dream. And to go from 300 to 650? What, are you kidding me, man? That's ridiculous. I mean, an apartment costs $1,000 a month if you're lucky. So from 300 to 1,000, that's $700. That's about $8,000 for the year. Whew. Unnecessary and inhumane treatment on a consistent basis. They find little things wrong with you. They give you 60 days to fix it. If you don't, you get kicked out. They start eviction proceedings on you. Oh, man, it is a nightmare. So I would ask you, please, to limit the cost of the increase to something livable. Thank you very much. I appreciate it so much.
Now I have Pedro Moreno. Can I have the interpreter please come forward? Or where's the interpreter? Okay, you beats. Okay, good. Señor Moreno, va a tener usted 6 minutos para hablar. 6 minutos, porque habla español, para que el traductor pueda traducir correctamente lo que usted va a decir. I told the gentleman that he has 6 minutes to speak because the 3 minutes belong to the translator to help translate. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Pedro.
My name is Pedro Moreno.
Yo no entiendo por qué están subiendo la renta.
I don't understand why they're increasing the rent.
Si nos están desalojando de ese lugar,
If they're kicking us out,
¿qué es lo que piensan ellos? ¿Echarnos a la calle sin nada?
what are they thinking of doing, throwing us out on the streets with nothing?
Yo he buscado rentas No encuentro.
I've looked for
¿Cuándo
places
voy a
to
venir el año
rent,
pasado que hacían?
and I haven't been able to find
Ahí
one.
nacían todos los niños,
And the
los
children,
hijos de nosotros, ahí nacieron.
all our children were born there.
¿Qué vamos a hacer? ¿Andar en la calle con los niños?
What are we going to do? Are we going to be out in the street with the children?
Para mí siempre es injusto porque los parqueaderos que hay, se me hace que ni un parqueadero está pagando $360.
I think it's unfair because I don't believe that any of
Son
the
de 300.
lots are 350. I think it's more like 300 and below.
Es todo lo que tengo que decir. Gracias.
It's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Martinez. Ms. Martinez, you have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you. Do you need an interpreter?
No, thank
Okay,
you. This
very
is
well.
Linda Martinez. Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. Ever since I've been there for 8-9 years, and since the beginning, everything was good. You know, I was like loving it. It was a great place. I mean, I was paying $600 a month, and I had an owner, right? And I was giving him the rent because I didn't own my trailer. But then they started saying that because of the fire and everything that happened, they were selling it. So then Harmony bought it. And ever since that, we've been having nothing but problems because at the beginning, we have to, we know there's laws. And we had to first be the owners. That's the first thing we're working on to apply, to everything that they wanted. Next thing, it was like at least $10,000 for me to get to have my trailer. And then the next thing was to, keep it clean because, everybody did their own thing. No, there was nobody telling you anything right there. Nobody, the trash can was taken care of, but it was always full. And then, there's things that need to still be worked on because just having just the floor, supposedly, that looks good. That's everything they did, so it could be a nice place. We don't have nothing there. Why are they trying to raise the rent when we don't have no more laundry, no park, not even, we don't have calm and peace in there because all we have to do is worry about what they're gonna send to us, what they're gonna worry about that they want to kick us out, evict us, everything they're trying to do. I mean, and then they coming up with the rent increase. I mean, they're just pushing our buttons and then just getting at us so we could get out. They just want us to be able to just get out of there because we're so frustrated, worried, and then we can't really take this anymore, This needs to stop. This needs to just be on our own place, be like it is, like how it was before. Right now, it's nothing but worries and stress and nothing good. Thank you for your time.
Virginia Bustos. You need an interpreter. Necesita la traductora está ahí. Tiene 6 minutos, señora, para poder hablar. You have 6 minutes to speak. 3 minutes for you and 3 minutes for the translator.
Mucho gusto por tomar el tiempo para nosotros.
Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yo tengo 30 años viviendo en el mobile home park.
I have 30 years living in the mobile home.
Y primero sí me recibían la renta y ahorita ya no me la reciben. No sé qué va a pasar, la verdad.
At
Pero
the beginning, they were taking my rent,
como-
but now they're not taking it, and I really don't know what's going to happen, honestly.
y yo soy dispuesta a pagarlo, pero no lo quieren recibir.
I am willing to pay, but they're not willing to take it.
Y mis niños van a la escuela cerca y no sé qué va a pasar conmigo, porque yo no trabajo, la verdad, pero
And my children go to the nearby school, and I don't know what's going to happen, because honestly, I don't work.
Ok, gracias.
Okay, thank you.
Chair Moncada, you also have people on Zoom with their hands raised as well. You have people with their hands raised on Zoom to
Do
speak.
you wanna let me then when they should go next, or should I just wait until the end for them to go next? I like to wait until the end when these folks speak. If they don't mind, would they be okay? They haven't raised your hand if they hear me. Would they be okay? Is that fine? Thank you. And then no one would not go home without being heard. And so no one will go home without being heard. Leticia Casilla. Sorry, I can't pronounce this second last name. Is that a second last name? Okay. Leticia Casilla, right? Is that right?
Yeah, Leticia Casillas Luquin.
Luquin,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Leticia. I am going to be reading a letter on behalf of one of our clients. And it is in Spanish, if the interpreter wants to help me out a little bit. I can also try to interpret it, but...
Let's have the interpreter with you, please. Thank you. You're reading Spanish and she will translate. Appreciate it.
Usted la lee en español y yo lo voy a interpretar en inglés.
Sí, está bien. Hola, me llamo Lidet y vivo en el parqueadero de las casas móviles de la Hacienda Mobile Estates.
Hello, my name is Lynette, and I do live in the mobile home park in
La Hacienda Mobile Estate.
La Hacienda Mobile State.
En este pequeño resumen les quiero contar un poquito de lo que hemos vivido mi familia y yo.
In this small summary, I would like to tell you a little bit of what my family and I have lived.
Y como nos afecta un aumento de renta y un cierre del parqueadero, nos afecta económicamente tanto como emocionalmente.
And how it has affected us to have an increase of the mobile home and to be also evicted from it, how emotionally and economically it affects us.
A finales de diciembre del 2019, mi esposo Leonardo y yo decidimos comenzar una vida juntos.
At the end of 2019, in December, my husband and I, Leonardo, we decided to make a life together.
Todo estaba caro y fuera de nuestro presupuesto. Entonces conocimos a don Víctor Rivera, quien rentaba su tráiler.
Everything was out of our reach. It was very expensive. And then we met Victor Rivera,
quien rentaba su tráiler.
Who rented his trailer.
Y decidimos rentarla.
And we decided to rent it.
Tenía espacio y nos gustaba mucho y donde pensamos formar nuestra familia.
It had space, we really liked it, and we wanted to start our family.
Y nuestros hijos tendrían un hogar.
And our children would have a home.
Había ocasiones que batallábamos con pagar la renta, pero así fuimos sobrellevándola.
There was times that it was difficult for us to pay the rent, but we were able to get by.
No importa, quedamos con un poco de dinero, pero los demás biles, pero nuestra renta le pagábamos, pero muy limitados por el trabajo.
Even though we were left with small amounts of funds after we would pay our rent, but no matter what, we paid it, and we did do with our work.
El trabajo en el campo es un poco pesado y a veces no ganábamos lo suficiente para que nos sobrara mucho después de nuestros gastos.
The work in the fields is very hard and they don't pay much, and sometimes we didn't have enough left for our expenses.
En el octubre del 2020 llegó a nuestra vida nuestro primer bebé, felices, pero un poco de más gastados, pero así no la pasamos.
In October of 2020, our first baby came to be. We were very happy even though we were spent it out.
Nosotros en ningún momento dejamos de pagar renta a pesar de que había problemas con el parqueadero donde vivíamos.
We never stopped paying our rent even though there was problems in the parking stall that we were at.
A finales del 2022 fue entrando la compañía Harmony, quien se hizo dueño del parqueadero.
And at the end of 2022, the company Harmony was the new owner and started there at the parking mobile homes.
y quien dijo que nos permitiría ser dueños de ser dueños de las casas móviles.
And they told us that they would allow us to be homeowners of the mobile park, of our
Of our mobile homes.
mobile homes.
Que solo permitían a los dueños de casas móviles, no querían dejar a nadie vivir, no quisimos dejar nuestras vidas.
And they said they would only allow owners of their homes to be there, and we didn't want to just no queremos dejar nuestras vidas. And we didn't want to just leave our lives the way we had them.
No quisimos dejar nuestra vivienda porque ya estábamos acostumbrados y juntos todos nuestros ahorros y compramos la casa móvil.
We didn't want to leave our home, and we were able to get the funds to buy our home so we can stay there, and we were used to it too.
Pensamos que así estábamos tranquilos, pero cada día llevaban cosas nuevas y preocupaciones.
We thought we would be at peace like that, but every day there were new worries that came about.
Fue uno de los procesos más difíciles que hemos pasado, pensando que el haber comprado y con nuestra renta de 300 nos harían un poco más fácil salir adelante.
It's one of the most difficult things that we've gone through. We thought that by buying our home and the $300 rent, our lives would be easier.
Solo fueron 3 meses en lo que aceptaron la renta y después más, no más.
It was only 3 months until they accepted the rent, and there was no more.
Después llegó algo peor. La compañía me demandó por, según ellos, no pagar la renta. Tuve que buscar abogado.
And then something worse came about. The company sued me for not paying rent, and then I needed to get a lawyer.
Y para poder quitarme esa demanda tenía que firmar un contrato de más de 80 páginas y pagar toda la renta que me quisieron aceptar firme.
And to get that off my back, I needed to sign and go through 80 pages of documentation and an increase of rent. ¿Una subida de alquiler de cuánto?
No, eran 80, el contrato de alquiler era 80 páginas.
Yeah, I said that.
Okay. Y pagar toda la renta que no me quisieron aceptar firme y pagué $2,400 para estar bien y tranquilos.
And all the rent that they didn't want to accept, I had to pay $2,400 to be at peace.
Thank you. Time is up.
Thank you.
Next, I have Alejandro Bautista. It's also Spanish. Tiene seis minutos para que pueda hablar junto con la traductora.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Buenas tardes, buenas noches. Mi nombre es
I guess-
Alejandro Bautista.
Good evening. My name is Alejandro Bautista.
Pues nos están aumentando la renta lo doble y no es justo.
They're increasing our rent twice as much, and that's not fair.
Y no está bien eso.
I don't think that's good.
Y la renta, mi renta es de $300 el que estaba pagando.
And it was $300 what I was paying as my rent.
Es todo.
That is so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Alicia Hernandez. It's a translator too. Tiene 6 minutos para hablar. You have 6 minutes to speak. Igualmente con la traductora, with the translator.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Alicia Hernández y estoy aquí para suplicarles muy caritativamente por el alto precio de la renta.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Hernandez, and I'm here very humbly asking you in regards to the increase of the rent.
Les pido su comprensión para que hagan algo por nosotros, por favor.
I ask for your understanding, for you guys to please do something for us. Please.
ya que soy una persona de la tercera edad con muchas enfermedades.
Given that I'm an elderly person with a lot of illness,
Tengo diabetes, tengo alta presión.
Un momentito, usted no tiene que decirnos las incapacidades que tiene. No, bajo la ley no es necesario que diga eso. Quiero que sepa eso. You have the right not to disclose your disabilities. That's under the law. But if you want to do that, that's up to you. I just want you to be aware. Solo quiero que sepa, por favor.
Sí,
yes.
sí. Por eso estoy ante ustedes para que hagan algo, por favor, para que no nos suban la renta, ya que no podemos trabajar.
Yes, that's why I'm here, for you guys to help us out, because given that, we cannot work.
Eso es todo. Y esperamos su respuesta a favor nuestro, por favor.
And that is all, and we do wait for your answer in our favor. That is all. Thank you. Please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jasmine Ramírez. Tiene 6 minutos para hablar junto con la traductora.
Gracias. Mi nombre es Yasmín Ramírez.
My name is Jasmine Ramirez.
Vivo en el espacio 10D.
I live in the area space DA.
Llegué a vivir en el 2012. Mi renta era de 275.
I came there to live in 2012, and my rent was of 275.
Ahora mi renta es de 305.
And now my rent is of 305.
Y para el mes que viene mi renta será de 775.
And for the upcoming month, my rent will be 775.
Es algo nuevo, es algo sorprendente lo que Harmony nos hace.
It's something new, and it's very surprising what Harmony is doing.
Cada vez son nuevas noticias las que recibimos.
Every time there's new notices that we receive.
También hemos recibido la noticia de que van a cerrar el parque.
We've also received the notice that they're going to close down the park.
Y no, nos tiene un poco confundidos eso.
And we're a bit confused about that.
Estoy de acuerdo que incrementen la renta, pero justa.
I am in agreement that there is the rent, but it should be just.
Para mí eso es algo muy excesivo, muy relevante.
For me, the rent is excessive.
Okay, gracias.
Thank you.
Next, I have Victoria Santillan. You have 3 minutes to speak, ma'am.
Yes, I work with CRLA, and I'd like to leave the floor open for any other residents who would like to have comment, and I will speak after them if that's okay.
I believe you could give up your space, but not, you could give up your space, but not follow with the other 3 minutes. You can only have 3 minutes. It's
Okay.
up to you if you want to give it up to somebody else.
I'll give it up to one of the residents.
Okay, very well then. Anybody else want to speak that did not register to speak or just came in late? Want to say she's giving up her space to speak? Ella está dando su lugar para que puedan hablar. Las personas que vino tarde tienen la oportunidad de hablar en el micrófono, por favor.
Buenas tardes.
Tiene 6 minutos para hablar, incluyendo el traductor.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Teresa Jaimes, vivo en el espacio número 5.
Good evening, my name is Teresa Jaimes, and I live in space 5.
Hace más de 10 años compré mi trailer con mucho esfuerzo y sacrificio.
It's been more than 10 years that I bought my trailer with a lot of hard work and sacrifice.
Desafortunadamente ahora soy mamá soltera.
Unfortunately, now I am a single mother.
tengo que trabajar muy duro para mantener a mis hijos.
I have to work really hard to be able to sustain for my children.
En este momento estoy pagando $285 de renta al mes.
At this moment, I'm paying $285 per month.
El siguiente mes serán 650.
Next month would have been 650.
Me están dando a elegir entre si les doy algo más de comer a mis hijos o pago la renta.
They're asking me to choose between feeding a little more my children or paying the rent.
También afectaría a mis hijos en la educación. Tendría que sacarlo de algunos deportes que tengan en la escuela, actividades extracurriculares.
And that would also affect my children. I would have to pull them out of some of the sports and extracurricular activities that they have.
Es una situación muy difícil para mí. No sé qué voy a hacer, qué tengo que hacer, no lo sé.
It is a very difficult situation for me. What can I do? I don't know.
Bueno, no tengo nada más que decir. Gracias.
I don't have anything more to say. Thank you.
Teresa Gaines, I believe I'm pronouncing this right. Oh, ¿es era usted? Oh, okay. Angélica Casales.
Hi, my name is Angelica. I am speaking on behalf of my family of 6 in Space 30. Before Harmony bought the park, we paid about $285 a month, which was a huge help to my family because there is a total of 6 of us on a single income. We have put time, energy, and so much love into creating our house, into our home. With this rent increase, my parents will constantly have to worry whether or not basic needs like groceries, clothes, and transportation to and from school can be provided for my sisters. Everything that Harmony is doing takes away the opportunity to live with dignity and peace. Thank you.
Now I have, is it Mayra or Maria Montellano? Mayra? María Montellano. Tiene 6 minutos para hablar, incluyendo su traductora.
Buenas noches. Mi nombre es María Montellano.
Good evening. My name is Maria Montellano.
Vivo en el parque.
I live at the park.
Desde el 2008.
Since
Actualmente
2008.
tengo 15 años viviendo ahí y pues en este año llegó el aviso de que tengo que salirme de lo que por 15 años ha sido mi hogar.
And I've been living there for 15 years, and this year I got the notice to let me know that I had to leave what I know as my home.
Y pues la verdad no sé ni qué voy a hacer, ni a dónde voy a ir, pues con lo que yo gano es muy poco.
And honestly, I don't know where I'm going to go and where I'm going to live because what I make is very little.
Creo que pues no me va a alcanzar a pagar una renta completa en otro lugar. Además, pues las rentas están bastante caras.
And I believe that I won't be able to pay rent somewhere else because the rents are really high.
Y pues también del que tengo que pagar se tiene que pagar más de renta y pues también no se me hace justo que quieran cobrar lo doble de lo que, o más de lo doble de lo que se está pagando.
And given that they want the rent to be so high, I don't think it's just that they're asking for double of what the rent that is being paid at this moment.
La verdad, con todas estas noticias nos hemos sentido como atosigados, o, no sé la palabra, cómo decirla.
With all these notices, we've been feeling like overwhelmed. It's difficult for me to find the right word that I'm looking for.
Pues son bastantes los problemas, preocupaciones que está viviendo uno en este momento por ese motivo. de que a dónde nos vamos a ir, qué va a pasar con
And it's
nosotros.
really hard to have to think of the problems and all the worries that's going to happen if we have to leave. What are we going to do?
Yo también pienso que es justo que sí suban la renta, pero un poco, no más de lo doble que la están subiendo.
I do believe that we could have a rent increase, but not the double or more than that they're raising it to.
Pues creo que será todo. Todos estos problemas me están trayendo bastantes problemas. En la noche ni puedo dormir en estar pensando qué va a pasar, qué voy a hacer, qué vamos a hacer todos.
And all this worriness is bringing me so many problems. Like at night, I can't sleep. I'm thinking, what are we going to do? What are we all going to do?
Pero en fin, ojalá y haya una buena solución para todos los residentes de ahí del parque. Y pues,
And hopefully we can have a good resolution for all the people there at the park.
y pues creo que es todo. Muchas gracias por escucharme.
And I believe that is all. And thank you very much for listening to me.
Now I believe we have some folks in Zoom.
Jason, you have 3 minutes to speak.
You talking? I've already spoken. Is this for the public comment?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we have witnesses to testify. Or is this my rebuttal, or is this the public comment?
This is public comment.
Okay. So you just excuse me on accident, or?
Do you have a public comment?
No, but I'll yield my time to Matt Davies.
Okay, thank you. Brandy Inn, can you hear me? You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. My name is Brandy. I am part of a housing justice partnership with many organizations, including those who had advocated in the past with the residents, though I am speaking on my own. I want to corroborate what was shared in the report and what was said before, and state that passing on the costs that the property owner should be responsible for, that the management should be responsible, which was noted in the agreement on poor residents, is unjust. And I believe that the report and the testimony of the residents are thorough and well, communicate well what needs to be said, but I do want to lend my support in that comparing the mobile home park to others is unreasonable, not unlike the practice and not like the practices in other properties. And even if the amenities is warranted compared to other places, raising prices 93% is unreasonable and inhumane to put on residents and an undue burden. I would argue with CRLA that Harmony's work, that while the residents are being gracious and asking for increase, that a rent increase in itself I would question, as noted in the report, Harmony's work offers no value that justifies increasing rent on those who are already struggling. Please reflect on the state of the mobile home park. I have, over the years, I've experienced the residents asking for help to protect this from the city, to protect the residents from Harmony buying this property or managing this property due to past practices and fears. And unfortunately, those fears were confirmed. If you've been to city council meetings over the last couple of years, you would see them coming and asking that there be intervention to stop that, but also in the recent months to plead before the city for help because of the unfair evictions, unfair practices that are being met on the residents. And I recognize that they are feeling like no one is standing for them in the city. So I ask that you deeply consider the very thorough report by Harmony, the statements by the residents, in making consideration and not put a rid of it and completely reject this 93%, but also consider rejection of any rent increase. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brandy.
Anybody else?
Erica Roman? Can you hear me?
Yes. One second.
You have
Are you
3
guys-
minutes to speak.
You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, my name is Erica Roman. I'm a witness for Jason. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm sorry.
Please hold.
Hold on.
Ms. Erica, do you plan to provide evidence or testimony on behalf of Jason?
Yes.
Then you need to be sworn in.
Okay.
Do you affirm to tell the truth in your testimony today?
Yes, I do.
You may proceed.
You can go ahead now, ma'am.
Oh, I wasn't sure if Jason was going to be asking questions and I'm responding to the questions, or if I'm just leading into to some of the events that were spoken of today. Can I have Jason added to this testimony?
Sorry, repeat that again. My apologies.
As a witness for Jason, I'm asking to have him added in so that I could answer the questions accordingly.
Jason is able to provide his own testimony, so you can provide your testimony here today with the time that you have allotted. Like I said, Mr. Davies can provide his testimony whenever he chooses to, or if he chooses to.
Okay, so I was under the impression that he was going to ask me questions and I'm going to answer the questions accordingly. So is that not able to happen?
No, that's not going to be the case, ma'am. You just do your presentation. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, so in regards to some of the basis of some of the claims made today, as far as some of the tenants indicating the reasons of the evictions, there are, several evictions. I could agree to that. However, all of the basis for the evictions are completely validated. We have all basis to the evictions, most of which were results of 360 notices served, and that time frame was, drawn, and those evictions were justified based on the fact of no payment being received on several of the spaces. A lot of the other evictions were already in action, or I should say already noticed, as far as the 60-day violations of health and safety. That was upon our takeover. So those notices were already in effect. We simply just executed those evictions at the expiration of those notices. So I just want to make it quite clear that all of the claims as far as us trying to, evict people on no basis, to create homelessness, all of that is not at all the case. We're simply just doing our due diligence to fully execute all of the health and safety violations that were not cured, to evict those persons that have not paid their rent, some of which never paid rent from October 2022 upon takeover, to the point of the notices being fulfilled and for the evictions to take its course. So I just want to speak on that. As well as the conditions, the photos that Mariah presented are very much far from what the park looks today. We have done all that we can to turn those vacant homes into somewhat, to the eye, what we can make them look pleasant in any way, because they were extremely in bad condition when we evicted these people. So, like I said, lots of health and safety. We have done a lot of cleanup. If you were to see the park today, it in no way represents what Mariah is presenting. And that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a Brian Eid. EID. Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Are you a witness?
Yes.
Hold on, you need to be sworn in then.
Okay.
Will you go ahead and do the swearing for him real quick, please? Who is my secretary?
I can do it. It's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, do you affirm to tell the truth
Yes.
in your testimony here today?
Yes, I do.
Okay, proceed.
Okay, thank you. My name is Brian Eid. I'm a CPA since 2001. I have an MBA since 2006. I'm also a master analyst in financial forensics. I was engaged by the park owner to review their rate of return analysis and also calculate the return on investment that they are currently earning and, and what the required rents would be in order to maintain or to obtain a fair return on a go-forward basis. And so in the supplemental documentation that was sent over yesterday, somebody spoke about it today, the rate of return analysis that was provided. I just wanted to go through how I calculated that and came up with the return on investment that I did. I first took the numbers as submitted in the original application. However, I did change the investment amount. As we know here, the purchase price of the park was $1.7 million. There was approximately $400,000 of improvements, approximately, or exactly $300,000 of those improvements were reimbursed. And then I know that there was an adjustment in the staff's report due to alleged duplicate invoices or duplicate charges. So I did adjust for that as well. So the adjusted investment, total investment, including unreimbursed improvements, is about $1.76 million. I took the estimated expenses that were outlined in the original application, and then through discussions with the management of the park, I determined what the ongoing expenses would be. I also got an understanding from them of the occupancy rates that would occur or that would be reached over the next few years. Management believes they would reach 95% occupancy in about 3 years. So the required rental rates in order to maintain at 50% occupancy and in order to maintain a 12% return on investment would be $1,080. In the following year, if 65% occupancy was reached, the required rents per month would be $840. The following year, if 80% occupancy were reached, the rents would be $690. And finally, in a stabilized condition at 95% occupancy, the required rents would be $585. Sorry.
Thank you for your time.
Achieve a 12%
Thank you.
return on investment.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to remind the Zoom attendees that if you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. If you're going to be a witness, please identify yourself so that we can get you sworn in. Matt Davies.
I will be a witness.
Okay, please hold.
Matt, do you affirm to tell the truth today in your testimony?
Yes.
Please proceed.
Can you please confirm first that Brian yielded his time to me? I have 6 minutes. Excuse me, Jason yielded his time to me, is that correct?
I'm not aware of it.
It's just you
Jason
speaking, sir.
Dilday?
No, it's just you speaking, sir. You got 3 minutes.
Jason Dilday yielded his time to me?
No,
he not?
I don't believe so. At least I don't know on my end.
City attorney?
No, the attorney for the owner made his presentation. That was his time. Now
To
you have
finish,
3
Brian.
minutes to make your presentation.
Okay, to finish Brian Eads' testimony, at 95% occupancy, to maintain a 12% rate of return, which in the packet you folks received shows as a standard rate of return, rents would need to be $585. As a business owner, we're entitled to make a fair profit. We're closing the park because we're not earning a fair profit. If we were able to make that fair profit, we'd want to stay open. We're losing right now almost $150,000 a year on an ongoing basis. Filling a park is hard. Even if we filled it, we would still be losing money. It makes no sense to fill it to do anything at these rents with what's happening. With these rents, we're forced to close. If you don't want to see this affordable housing source close, we're going to need an increase that allows us to make a fair return. And that's going to be a tough choice, but it's either do you want it closed or do you want to see the park stay open? Mariah Thompson is being disingenuous in all of her testimony. She never once contacted me or any attorney about wanting to negotiate. Her deposition testimony that she brought in was from 2 weeks after she had her tenants reject that proposal. They've never once reached out. We offer rental subsidies. If we were to get a market rent, we would also enact a subsidy program for those in need. We wouldn't want to see anybody displaced, but we need to have a market rent in order to stay open. Going back to Brian Eads' report, his report is in that agenda, the packet you had on page 600. I would very much encourage you to look at 600. It lays out all the math. And all of that math was backed up. Our internal accountant, Ruben Osuna, will be testifying next, walking you through the invoices. The invoices were not double counted. The GL did not show a double counting. There was some sloppy work I offended somebody already, but at the city, it was sloppy work. When they just added up invoices, they didn't look at the general ledger. Well, 4 sheets of paper were in there twice. They were only paid once, and that's within the documentation that was provided. Do we need $650? No, but if we want to stay open, we need to stabilize at $585. It's up to you folks to decide, again, if we're going to get a fair rent and we're going to be able to make a fair return as a business owner and stay in business, or if we're going to continue to operate in the red, in which case we are absolutely forced to shut down. Let's see, how much time do I have left, please? 1 minute. No, you know what? I'll keep going anyhow. Water.
You have 3 minutes, sir. No, wait a minute. Just a second. Time out.
Time's up, sir.
What was that?
We have water, sewer, and trash.
He didn't hear you. How
in
many
the
minutes
rent.
you have?
He already spoke. It's 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
And I have one more person on the list that hasn't spoken yet, which is Ruben Osuna. Ruben, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Are you a witness?
Yes, I am a witness.
Okay.
Ruben, do you affirm to tell the truth in your testimony here today?
Yes, I do.
Please proceed.
So I just wanted to state earlier, documents that were shown stating that they were duplicate invoices. Although they may have the same invoice number, those are not duplicates. The way we process payables here is we break it down from gross wages, a separate invoice for taxes, separate invoice for workers' comp, and a separate one for processing fees. For some reason, we keep the same invoice number. That's how it was processed, but we have backup to all expenses that were submitted. None of these expenses are duplicated on our financials or GLs. No duplicate payments were processed and are not reflected on our accounting reports. That is all.
Thank you. Anybody else?
That is it. All the people on Zoom have already raised their hand and spoken or requested to give their time to someone else.
Thank you. I'm going to neglected to, I mentioned earlier when we started this process of public hearing, I did mention that I received two correspondence from two folks that send their comments in writing, and I neglected to read their comments. So I'm going to add the translator to come forward because I do have one in Spanish. I will read it in Spanish, and if you can kindly translate for me in English for the audience and for the record. Yo, María Edelina Martínez de Montaño, soy residente de la Hacienda Mobile Estates.
I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you to say that name one more time.
María Enelia Martínez de Montaño.
María Elena Martínez de Montaño.
Soy residente de la Hacienda Mobile Estates.
I am a resident of the mobile homes.
Vivo en el espacio blank.
I live in the space and it's left blank.
Desde 2008.
Since 2008.
Tengo 15 años viviendo en este lugar y pues actualmente estoy pasando muchos problemas.
I've been living in this area for 15 years and in actuality I've been having a lot of problems.
Son muchas las preocupaciones por el motivo de que llegó el aviso de que en 12 meses me tengo que salir de aquí.
I worry quite a bit since we got the notice that in 12 months I'm going to have to be moving out of here.
De donde por tantos años ha sido mi hogar y pues la verdad yo no sé qué voy a hacer.
Given that for so many years this has been my home and honestly I don't know what I'm going to do.
Pues lo que yo gano es muy poco y pues no me va a alcanzar para pagar una renta completa en otro lugar.
Given that what I make is very little and I won't be able to pay the full rent in another place.
Y pues no me hace justo que nos quieran sacar de aquí. Yo he invertido mucho dinero aquí en mi hogar.
Given that I don't think it's fair that they're trying to get us out of here, given that I've spent a lot of money in the home here that I have.
En arreglarlo, modelarlo, pues también me va a afectar mucho el cambiar a otro lugar.
Given that I've updated, I'm modernizing it, and it's also going to be a lot having to move to another area.
Porque en el lugar donde yo trabajo actualmente está muy cerca de aquí donde yo vivo.
Because the place that I work at right now is very close to where I live at this moment.
Y pues no sé ni a dónde voy a irme.
So I don't even know where I'm going to go.
La verdad no sé qué hacer.
And honestly, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Por otro lado, también estoy pasando por el proceso de divorcio.
And I'm also going through the process of divorce.
Y pues total que los problemas que me están llegando por todos los lados.
And given that I'm having a lot of problems from every which way.
Lados donde sorry, todo esto está afectando bastante mi salud.
And
y
all
por,
the, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
And all this is affecting my health.
Y por las noches no puedo dormir y
And-
estoy pensando qué voy a hacer. La verdad ya estoy desesperada.
And given that I can't even sleep at night because I'm thinking, what am I going to do? And honestly, I'm very desperate.
Pues bueno, ojalá que Dios quiera que haya una solución muy buena para todos los habitantes de aquí en el parque.
And I'm hoping that there will be a good resolution for all the people that live here in the park.
That's all. Thank you.
Eso es todo. Gracias.
Then I have another one from Virginia Bustos, and it reads as follows. I, Virginia Bustos, have lived in my mobile home for approximately 30 years with my husband and three children. Raising the rent would have a negative effect in my housing, but I'm sorry, it's cut. What do you think? I cannot. What was that? Yeah, I guess. I'm going to try my best here. I don't want to say a word that is probably not included, so I'm going to omit this sentence here. The cost of, it was cut off like it was when it was printed or something. Okay, so it goes. The cost for my other essential needs, such as food, water, my children's necessities, housing necessities, the raise of the rent will had significant stress trying to balance out financial housing, again cut, and can potentially lead to health effects. Negative, so I assume it is trying to say negatively, weakening our family. Raising the housing expenses will possibly lead my family to lose our home with nowhere to stay and possibly become homeless. It is truly sad that the families in our community have to live with the uncertainty of the stability of our home environment. And then we have another one here, Pepsi. Okay, good.
Okay, I'm going to read this on behalf of Patsy. I'm 76 years old, partially disabled, and living on a fixed income. I have lived in the park for 33 years because it's affordable. If the rent is raised too high, I will not be able to afford rent. There isn't anything in Fresno affordable, so I will not be able to move. I also have difficulties moving and don't. Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Patricia Sean.
Good evening. I'm Patricia Sean. I'm the chair of the Rent Committee, and I received the application on the 31st, and I turned it in on the 5th, so that is not 3 days, that is 6 days, or 5 days, I'm sorry. And a few things other things I would like to mention are the way that things are going down in the park. They are harassing the tenants by submitting 5-day notices that have no dates and no signatures, having them get rid of their dogs that were supposedly grandfathered into our rent agreement. I also have been evicted. I will be leaving at the end of December, but my neighbors, all who are here, they all deserve a chance to stay in their homes at an affordable price that they can manage. They're great people, they have fantastic children, and we became a great community because of this. We became stronger for each other. And I just feel that Matt Davies just wants to make his profit. Well, I understand that. If he had not kicked everybody out of the park, he'd be making his profit. But instead, he cleared the park. So, of course, he's not going to make profit if you clear the park. I mean, we've been trying to pay our rent. He won't accept it. He's even sued people for trying to pay their rent, but he wouldn't accept it. So what are we to do? We try everything we can to do what he wants or what he's asking, but it's just not enough. It never seems to be enough for him. You know, we're just people like everybody else. We're just trying to get along, trying to live our lives as well as we can. Some of us are better off than others, and we can have a different course of life. Some of us, we're stuck on the course that we're on. And we didn't set ourselves this way. You know, we were set this way. And I just feel that when he came to the park, he said that he was coming to build us a place that we would be proud to live. Well, how can we be proud of some place that we can't live? We can't live there, so how can we be proud? Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience who hasn't spoken yet? I'd like to speak. Okay. Ms. Thompson, I have a question for you. Is there a tally of how many children, disabled, and senior citizens live at this community? Have you performed a tally officially? Like, I have this many children live here, this is how many disabled live? I'm just curious.
That's the kind of thing that I could get that information within a week for the commission if they wanted it. I don't have that exact information right now. We did submit quite a few declarations by residents who do describe the number of children that they have living with them and profiles on people that speak about who is disabled and their source of income, if they're on a fixed income or if they're elderly. But, you know, from my experience working there for years now, probably almost every household has either children or people that are on a fixed income or are elderly or disabled, if not some combination of those things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, if there are no further comments, we are going to see here. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Now, I believe that happened. Sit this down. Just a second. Give me one. I'm curious to know if city staff would like to give us a final summary. You want to do anything different, amend anything that you previously said? Oh, okay, thank you. I thought we covered that already. No, we did not? Okay, my apologies. Okay, so we have 3 minutes rebuttal. I mean, the rebuttals, I'm sorry. Mr. Davis, starting with Mr. Davis, Representative Jason D. Dilday is going to do his, is that the way to rebuttal? Yes. Is he on Zoom?
He's going to give a rebuttal. Give him Jason. Jason.
Yes.
Please, thank you.
Jason, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you? Was it just audio?
Yes, go ahead and proceed with your rebuttal for 3 minutes, please.
Okay. You said 3 minutes?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. All right, so just a lot to cover, not enough time. Just to reiterate what Mr. Davies said, you know, the residents are framing this as the owner is closing the park and in the meantime trying to like raise the rents on these people before they leave. That's not what's happening at all. The owner bought the park intending to run it. There was no plans to close it. That's proved very difficult because of all the health and safety code violations and these people refusing to fix their mobile homes. If they don't fix their mobile homes, if these health and safety violations continue, then the park will lose its permit and will not be able to collect rent, will not be able to stay in business. Okay, all of the evictions have been for either a health and safety violation or the tenant's failure to pay rent. Okay, I understand that nobody wants to pay more money for anything, but that's not a realistic. That's not a reality, especially today. Okay, but anyway, the park is doing one or the other. Either going to get a fair and reasonable rent that it can continue to operate profitably, or it's going to have to close the park. That's the reality. You can't have both. You can't keep the rents low. They're losing money, as Mr. Davies said. You know, as he also mentioned, Harmony offers rental subsidies. All these people that are saying that they don't have enough money, if the rent goes up, they would be offered rental subsidies. This would have been offered during the meeting if the residents had decided to meet with the owner. This would have been discussed, but that never transpired. The city was in control of this process when the park was previous park owners were closed. They could have insisted that this was sold to a nonprofit. Instead, they wanted it resolved, and it was sold by the court-appointed receivers to Harmony. Okay, all the pictures that Mariah showed about all these great other parks in the city, those are all nonprofit. Okay, those are not for-profit parks. All those great amenities, those are nonprofit operations. So that's disingenuous to include these in comparison to a park like this. The rent that they need is not necessarily based on their investment. If you want people to buy parks and take over what was a disaster before and try to improve it, they have to make money or they're not going to do it. So they need it, and the purchase price of this property was over $1.7 million. Okay, they need to be able to earn a return to be able to stay in business. No company is going to operate something where they're losing money. That's not what for-profit businesses do. That may be sad for people, but that's just the reality of how things work. Okay, everybody has a job.
Time is up.
Work,
Time is up.
All right.
Thank you very much. Time is up. Ms. Thompson, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. In regards to the allegations about the meet and confer and us failing to comply with our obligations and my disingenuous statements, I'll let the documents speak for themselves. We did submit copies of all the emails of us attempting to get information about their council so we could meet and confer. This is the first time anyone has ever said that they were going to keep the park open if they could raise the rent $600 to $650. That has never been represented before in anything. There's no document saying that. Never have I heard that at all. That was not in their closure impact report that they submitted asking for the city to give them permission to close this park. So unless there is some evidence that was suddenly submitted about that, I would request that you disregard that because no one here has ever heard that before, and we've been working on this for a long time. The subsidy program is a common thing they talk about in parks where they increase rent massively. It's a 10% subsidy. Typically, they don't offer it to the entire park. When we've gotten media on their massive rent increases, they've then said that generously they'll offer it to everybody, but it's a 10% subsidy, so it's not very much. for people that are not making more than $1,000 a month and being asked to pay $650 a month. The parks that we showed in the pictures are not all nonprofits. The nice ones that we showed, one of those is a nonprofit. In fact, the nonprofit that we tried to have buy this park, but they fought us tooth and nail to take it over instead. Yes, one of them is that. The others are not. They are for-profit parks here in Fresno. I did want to say that at least 6 of the people that came up and spoke to you tonight have had evictions filed against them or have already been evicted by this company. I know that they say that every one of those evictions was the resident's fault. All of them were completely legal, and that's not what we are litigating today, but I do think it's interesting that more than half the park would have suddenly, for the first time ever, needed to be evicted, and every one of those is legal. So we'll let the courts deal with that. But, you know, if they would like to sell it to a nonprofit so that they can keep it open, I'm happy to talk to them about that. But otherwise, they have not submitted anything in support of any of their claims that they're just making up for the first time right now. So I'll rest on that, and if Harmony wants to talk about selling the park to a nonprofit, I have one that might be interested, so they can contact me.
Just a second, Ms. Thompson. Ms. Thompson, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The people you represent do not want to leave the park, correct? Is that a statement?
They do not want to leave the park. No.
Very well then. Their families there, families, their children's.
Yes.
Children will have to move out of school district. School district loses about $5,000 to $7,000 per student when they move out of district. They gotta go to another school. And what have you? It's a big enchilada. I work in residential living for many, many years. So what you're saying is that your association will not even consider 575, let's say, if you guys come to an agreement? When you say they didn't offer anything, well, he offered it. It's been put on the table by the representative. It's on record that they will go to, they can pay, what did he say, $585. They can stay. So when you say, well, to me, I'm looking at it, he submitted it. It's right here. It's on the record. So can you take that back to you folks and say, hey, listen, folks, can we work an agreement here?
Well,
or is that still be too much for them?
Well, with all due respect, sir, they have to provide documentation to support these claims. And they have provided us, in our report on Section 8, subsection
No, I'm assuming they do all the improvements, they do fix up the things and
if-
things like that.
If they have an opportunity in May of 2024, which is their time period where they can submit another rent increase application, to prove all of these things that they're claiming, that they would keep it open for $585, that they have spent any of this money that they claim that they have expenses for. And if they can present us with something that is backed by evidence and is just and reasonable and complies with the law, I don't know why they think they have a right to a 12% rate on return every year. But if they do that, we can talk about that, but there's a time for them to do that, and there is a legal process by which they are required to follow, and that is this process, and they have failed to meet their requirements.
No, I was just hoping that, and when it comes to mobile rehab, homes rehabilitations, I got an expert here next to me. You usually you take into consideration that you need to bring the property up to code. And it seems to me that this property is not up to code. So it takes. I understand. I hear, but I want you to hear my comment, because this is an example that could happen in the future with other properties. Now, our job here as a commission is very limited. Okay, we can only approve or not approve a rent increase. If there's an agreement between you and the owner, then you come before this commission. We review all the documents. I will make a recommendation whether there should be an increase or not. That is fair for everyone. So I'm trying to just see whether there's a way for you guys to stay in your home. It's like when we do workarounds with people when they were trying to do refinance their mortgages because they didn't want to be out of their home. So what can you do? We work with folks like that and say, listen, you're going through foreclosure, but what can you do? Can you pay this much? Can you do this? Can you do that? Because people wanted to stay in the home and they wanted the children to be in the local community where they are growing. So I guess I just wanted to know whether, but I can see that you say no, that you need evidence, you need all that, so,
Well, if I
so
may,
we proceed.
May I respond to
Sure.
several? Yes. So, so there are opportunities for people to stay in their homes here. We certainly have other buyers who are interested in operating it as a nonprofit mobile home park. But they will not sell it at the price of a nonprofit mobile home park or as even a mobile home park. They're only going to sell it as the price of a commercial property for $4.1 million. But we have people who are interested in buying it and keeping it open as affordable housing. So that is an option. They have a right to a $19.80 increase under the law. That is the automatic rent increase that they have a right to based on a $300 a month base rent. We have no opposition to them getting that increase. But this narrative that they need to do all of this to keep the park open, where was that in any of the applications or anywhere before today? They don't even acknowledge in their application that they're shutting down the park. This is sort of a last-ditch thing they're throwing in here as a red herring to say, well, it's up to the residents. Do they want to become homeless or do they want to pay much more in rent? We have no choice. Our hands are tied.
Thank you. But in all fairness to the owner, do you know that they were going to look for closure before the commission starts having these meetings? So you guys are already aware that it was going to happen. All they did is just park that. They told city council, park that right now, let us go through the commission, then we'll come back to you. You as an attorney know that very well, so I'm assuming your tenants always knew that they would go proceed with the selling of the park if there was no agreement before this commission. Thank you for your time.
Okay, yes, sir.
Chair, can I ask the applicant a question? Not Ms. Thompson, the applicant. Are they still on the line?
Yes, we have Jason, the lawyer, with his hand raised up, as well as the witness, Brian, EID.
Okay. I think probably Jason or Mr. Davies would be the correct one for this question. But my question is...
and Matt Davies, the owner, has also raised his hand.
Okay. So either one of them, I'm not sure who would prefer to respond, but my question is, how many new residents have they brought in attempts to increase their cash flow and be able to operate the park at the current rents or at the allowable increases for new residents since they've purchased the park?
Can you give that to Matt, please?
Okay. Yes, I am.
I don't have that information.
Matt?
Katie, there's a problem with that. If I were to fill the park tomorrow, I'd still be losing about $50,000 a year. So there's no incentive to refill. Plus, California law is very perverse. It requires buyouts when you close a park, and it requires a lot of relocation costs. So if I were to fill the park, which is a long, hard process, and still lose money, I would ultimately end up either putting in tons of extra money each year, or I'd still be in the position of closing the park, and then I'd have to relocate 60 people. So there's zero incentive. I do want to address too, Katie, I keep referencing page 600, and Mariah keeps referencing that we've submitted no documentation. We've submitted hundreds and hundreds of pages that show this exact analysis. I mean, months ago, we submitted this documentation that's clear as day for you folks to see. All of our P&Ls, all of our expenses, everything. And you can see for your own eyes at $300 rents on a simple spreadsheet right there that there's no incentive. We continue to lose our butts. So it's got to make sense for a private business owner to stay in business.
So to confirm, you haven't brought in any new tenants since you've purchased the park?
Absolutely not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to move to this, the city staff for this summary.
All right, I'm going to make this quick because I know that you have had a lot of information thrown your way over the course of this evening. There are a couple things I want to glance on before I summarize the crux of the matter. So early on in the proceedings, Mr. Dilday made an assertion that Harmony Communities, Inc. doesn't own La Hacienda Mobile Estates, which is splitting hairs. So to clarify, La Hacienda Mobile Estates, LLC, owns the park. They have the same principal place of business and the same managing members and officers as Harmony does. Further, on page 604 of their application, there's a footnote that states La Hacienda Mobile Estates, LLC is the acquiring entity of the park and is part of Harmony Communities, Inc., who own and operate 55 mobile home parks. So I wanted to make sure that I clarified that for you. At this stage, whether or not a meeting was held between the residents and the owner is not particularly germane, as is the assertion that the application was deemed complete due to residents' chair's alleged waiver of a meeting. At this time, the application has been brought before you, the commission, to make a determination based on it. If the application lacks supporting evidence on documentation, what then are you to base your determination on? Mr. Davies just stated that they submitted hundreds and hundreds of documents, which is true, but what was submitted was an overwhelming wave of raw data with zero attempts to explain or argue what that data actually represented. As to the duplicate invoices, testimony has been provided stating that the charges were each separate for gross wages, taxes, fees, etc. I will note that each set of the duplicate invoices assert that each charge is for gross taxes, WC, and fees. That is all of those things together. That is how it is listed on the description for each item. So regarding next steps, that is your deliberation. One of the documents submitted by staff for this item is a findings matrix to assist you in finalizing your determination. It provides options for findings on both the automatic CPI increase amount and any additional non-automatic amount. You'll see it as attachment 10 on the staff report or on pages 1571 through 1573 of your agenda packet. Now, in conclusion, the question here is not deny or confirm, nor is it whether the application is complete or incomplete. This is not a light switch. It is not all or nothing. There are not only two options. The only question before you is what exact amount is just, fair, and reasonable in light of the relevant evidence presented to you. The parties tonight have argued for everything from absolutely nothing to $350 per month. Staff's quantitative analysis gave a tentative range somewhere between $20 and $170 a month. Whatever you as commissioners decide that amount to be, it just has to be just, fair, and reasonable to both park residents and park owner. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we go into the hearing. It's now closed. Now the commissioners, we're going to take a minute to decide what's the next step.
Chair, I have a question. I'm not sure if it's for staff or
yes,
the attorney first. So one of our proposed actions or allowable actions would be to approve at the 6.6%, but we've heard from both parties tonight the debate on what that 6.6% would be. How would that actual amount be determined? Is it approved on the application they submitted, so at the $24.92, or can there be a motion to approve at 6.6% with the condition that the rents are reevaluated to ensure that we're providing an accurate 6.6%? Sorry.
No, not a problem at all. Can you repeat that one more time so I make sure I've got it?
Yeah, so my question is, one of our approvals or one of the actions could be to approve at 6.6%. But we've seen in all the documentation that there is debate on what that 6.6% would be based on what the current base rents are.
Yes.
So would an acceptable motion be to approve at the 6.6% with the condition that the current base rents are reevaluated and agreed upon to ensure that 6.6% is accurate, or is the only allowable motion to approve at the application that's been submitted?
So as far as that goes, I would say that what the base rent appears to be would be a question of fact. So as commissioners, you can look at all of the evidence that's been presented to you tonight and weigh it and determine what you think in actuality the average base rent is. Correct me if I'm wrong. So you are not bound by what is written in the application. if you think the weight of the evidence does not support that as the average base rent.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Very well, then, we're going to take a minute here. Give us a second. We apologize. We didn't discuss anything to make either way decision. We're just trying to working through some parliamentary procedures, pretty much. So now that we have clarification, we're going to discuss, you guys, we hear what we're saying, what would arrive to a conclusion. In the meantime, we're doing a brainstorm in public so you guys can have an idea. So you were saying.
Okay, so in hearing the information provided by both sides, one of the key points to the rent increase was based upon the, and I may not have the exact number, but $407,000 investment needed to bring the park up to code, or which was spent. I'm not really sure what the actual standing on that is, but in reviewing this information, the city came back and said, hey, we see about $52,000 of investment being made. So I already see a significant sort of drop of only 13% of that has been reflected. On the other side, my thought is that at the end of the day, the goal should be to keep people in homes That is paramount. Housing is the most important thing to our livability, to our habitability. And so, we certainly don't want this to be at the expense of Harmony, but there's just a lot of information that I feel is not really clear. My concern is that the 350 is really based on this number that has been refuted and has been shown that that number has not have been invested in. Harmony is a for-profit that has been doing this for a while. They've been doing this across 40, 50, I'm not sure what the number is, but so they should know numbers. And so going into an investment like this, knowing that your residents are, paying on average $300 a month, if I'm trying to make the connections to they didn't do the numbers right, or they already had an idea of what they wanted to accomplish. But it all comes down, and that's all speculation. So I think where I want to do is leverage sort of numbers that can be that are based in fact. And so my thought is that difference, that delta between the 407, which the 350 increase was based upon, or not, has been shown that hasn't added up. And so I would like to make sure that if Harmony can show that that amount has been made, I would like to have another look at that. But as of today, I do agree with the city that there was just trying to decipher the information that was given to us is very difficult. And so I think that information needs to be better presented, and Harmony should really sort of respond to the difference between the 407 that they claim, or whatever that number is, and then the 52 that the city has been made. 13%, that's really at this point where we've only been able to show an increase. I've been in a lot of parks, so I get it. That park, at the end of the day, it has to be comparable as well. So if the other parks are, if you're trying to charge rent for a park that has no amenities, it just doesn't make sense. The bylaws is like we're trying to base everything on fair and just rent. So those are the things swirling in my head. I would be interested in trying to get some more clear information on why 407 exists, and 52 is what we've essentially uncovered. So,
I agree. That was a lot of information to go through in a very short period of time. Not to mention, the 1,587 pages to begin with a few days ago, and then another 700 on top. I couldn't read it all. I mean, I have other things that I have to commit to, and it was just too much information in such a short period of time. I don't feel like I'm ready to make a decision on this yet.
I think we're in a difficult position, and everybody's in a difficult position. We don't want to see the park close because that's ultimately going to end up with families entering homelessness. We don't want to see the rents raised to a rate that are unsustainable for the families that are living there, because that's also going to result in everybody entering homelessness, and that's not anybody's goal. I do have some questions about why Harmony would enter into the purchase agreement. The laws haven't changed. The rent increase amounts and laws around that haven't changed since they purchased it. So I have a hard time understanding how they wouldn't know this is what the pro forma would be for the property at the time of purchase. There was a reason the city agreed to the purchase at $1.4 million with the $300,000 concessions for repairs, because everybody knew what the profit of the park could be. And so I think without further evidence of what they have done to improve the park and what they have done to substantiate the just improvements, it doesn't put us in a place to approve the rent request or the rent increase that's been requested. I heard from both sides the concerns about the process and the time and the turnaround of documentations, and so I think that we are in a position where I would like to make a motion to allow both the applicant and the residents to submit any further documentation that would substantiate the costs that the park is saying, and provide that in a clear and concise fashion, preferably short of 700 pages, so it can be reviewed and understood in a way that is digestible and clearly lays out where the expenses are coming from, why those costs are incurred, and what that would look like on an ongoing basis. I believe our bylaws indicate that we have 10 days to reconvene from this hearing to make that final decision. So I would like to make a motion that we request any further documentation be submitted by the close of business on Friday and reconvene same place, same time next week to review any further documentation and make a decision based on the documentation that is provided by the close of business on Friday.
So just to clarify for the purpose of the motion, so what is being requested is that all documentation be submitted by both the applicant and by the association on this Friday by close of business, and this commission would reconvene next week via special meeting. At what time and what exactly, so we can make sure it's clear?
I would probably say 6 p.m. Tuesday to allow the park residents to again be present if they so wish. And I would also encourage the applicant to be here present to avoid any further miscommunications.
Before the motion is voted on, I would say one thing. Are both the applicant and the association agreeable to that?
Yes, but if we can get the 700 pages of documents immediately, because those were never sent to us.
Do we have the owner or his representative who can answer that?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, can you repeat what we're agreeing to?
Well, there was a question whether you were agreeable to submit additional documentation by Friday at 5 p.m. And what the association requested that you provide them, with their attorney directly, the 700 pages you submitted, I believe, today.
Oh, it was submitted yesterday. And it's posted on the website, just like the analysis by the city attorney. But we can certainly send it to them. But we just want to further to clarify what were the rate of return information, or all of it, I guess. Anything that we want to clarify, is that what we're agreeing to by Friday?
The motion was to provide additional information to the commission in a summary form, less than the amount of documents that were previously submitted, so that the commissioners could provide a more informed decision and not have to go through over 1,000 pages of documents.
Okay. Yes, we're agreeable.
And I think what I
hang on, I haven't opened it for discussion yet. There is a second? Can I hear a second on the motion, please?
I second the motion.
Now we open for discussion. You were saying?
Where I'm sort of stuck is trying to clarify if Harmony refutes what the city has determined, that there is only a $52,000 investment being shown, that would be the space for them to refute and to give us a very clear, concise response to that. So I wanted to make sure that that was clearly communicated to Mr. Davies, that is one of the main points of confusion, that your $350 rent increase is based off of the 400 or that significant investment, and the city has come back and has combed through the documents and has determined that that isn't the actual investment that is being reflected in the documentation. So if you feel that that is inaccurate assessment, please give us a clear path to how we can see that information being reflected correctly in your eyes.
Thank you. Anybody else? I have, excuse me, you were.
Yeah. Did you want an answer from Jason? Did you want an answer from Jason?
No need for an answer. That's just, I would prefer we can just move forward with based on that. I'd rather have it in writing and a summary and something that's clear we can reference.
Now I'm going to give you my food for thoughts before we vote on the motion. Look, folks, we have families here that are going home to put the kids to sleep. We got to wake up in the morning, make breakfast. Everybody goes, those who work, go to work. Those who volunteer services, they do whatever you do in the morning. Even the staff, the attorneys, everybody involved, even the owners. A life continues. This is what I like to see. I'm living here as I see you guys. We speak today about Harmony and each case. I see. I'm going to be honest with you, 2008 all over again, but when it comes to mobile home parks. In 2008, when people lost homes, for example, in my neighborhood, lived in Manteca for more than 25 years. My neighborhood went down like this. Foreclosure, I have foreclosure left and right in my neighborhood. But the people that were left in our neighborhood, we lift off our hands, roll up our sleeves, and cut the grass with the people that were vacated. We kept the neighborhood clean, because we knew that would affect our property. We just didn't let weeds grow everywhere because we knew that at the time that I wanted to sell my home, it would appreciate in value. So this is what I like to see. I think I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we need to read, if you have to read back the proceedings. There was one attorney, I don't know if he's the attorney representing the owner or the other attorney, but at I keep going to this, $585 that was put on the table. If I can get $585, I come clean. So I look at math. I did math for years, doing loans. So I look at this. Our staff assessment proposal is that the range should be $373.26. Owner says, no, I want $886.22. Okay, great. But owner comes back today in this meeting and he says publicly on record, I'm willing to take $585 to keep the car park open. So I do my math. $373, $575, $585 that he wants. Minus the $373 that the staff proposed, there's $200 savings for each owner. Now, I look at the owner. He's the one losing more here. $886 that he wants, minus the $585, he's losing $301. So really, he's just saying, hey, listen, I'll give you another leap. My question to you is, we're going to take our 10 days. But what can you go back to the drawing table and say, you know what, those who remain in the mobile home park, because we love our community, we love our children to stay in the same school, we want no changes, I'm willing to stretch it and pay the $585 as long as you do this, and this. And we're going to do our part. We're going to keep our park clean. We're going to do all this. It is our community. It is our home. How much you care for it, it will be totally up to you. All we can do is take 10 days, wait for you guys' response, and make a decision. okay, that is going to be fair. But if you really, for what I heard today, everybody speaking, you love your community, you love your mobile home park, you love everything, you just want to do some fixer-up, you want the owner to do something for the park, so you guys can take from there. They take it from there and keep it nice for future residents. It is your home, so it's up to you how you want to, where you want to live in your community, how you want to keep it. That's just my personal opinion, and we did great after the foreclosures. Everybody sold their homes, everybody went on, you know? But think about it. If you really, really care, come to a conclusion whether the way the vice chair has proposed, or what he is saying, or what I'm saying, we're going to take our 10 days, and we're going to see you guys here by Friday, submit your reports to what you want to do, what you guys have decided, documentation that is relevant to the case, to the proper channels, and then we will meet next week. And I believe the staff can notify us. When can we meet next week? We say 6 o'clock. It's fine with us. What date is good for us? A week from today. So we're meeting next Tuesday, a week from today. So hopefully by Friday, everybody will have all the documents ready, all the proposals in, and will allow us to make the right decision for you. Otherwise, the staff will make the recommendation, and we're going to have to be inclined to go by whatever the staff's recommendation is. We want what's best for you, but we need some work all together. Okay? Thank you very much. I believe now I'm going to open it for comments for anyone.
I think we need to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Madam Spanish. We have a motion on the floor, and second by me, you were the one who seconded, right? Yeah. So all those in favor say aye. To move, we're going to have 10 days to review and wait for your proposals.
No, we have until next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, yes.
Next Tuesday at 6 o'clock, we're going to reconvene, so that's 7 days.
So we're not taking the 10
we're
days
taking
then?
7 days.
We're taking 7 days. Why not we taking the 10 days?
Because we just said we needed the information by Friday.
Yeah.
And then we're going to reconvene next Tuesday. So I assume we need to have a decision.
Because next Thursday is Thanksgiving,
Yes, it is
so
Thanksgiving. I
I
forgot
think
Thanksgiving.
everybody would be
Everybody
preferring
wants to
to
have the
spend
turkey.
Thanksgiving
I
in
get
their
you.
homes.
Okay. Fine. I forgot about Thanksgiving. My apologies. My kids left home a long time ago, so just wife and I, Thanksgiving is just like, I don't know. But anyway, we have a second. We have on the motion to meet next Friday. Next Tuesday. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those and the opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. The next on the agenda is we're going to open it for unscheduled communication. Anyone that didn't get to speak or want to speak about anything that is in your mind, you can come to the microphone and have 3 minutes. Anything. You could speak about any subject. Doesn't have to be related to the mobile home park.
I have 2 people on Zoom.
Okay.
Brian? Eve? Can you hear me? Brian, Eve? Hello, Brian, Eve, can you hear me?
They probably left the Zoom. We're going to go ahead and call for adjournment. Okay, I call for an adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:38 p.m.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting closed. Thank you.